your computer. It's very loud.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the 210th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, February 8th, 2018. I hardly believe I'm saying the words 210 Knowledge Seekers Workshops, and we're in the fifth year now of continuous weekly Knowledge Seekers Workshops with Mr. Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. And for today's presentation, well, I believe we have Caroline who will be delivering the Dutch version of the Earth Council Constitution, and hopefully hear from Dr. Gatua and several other people. And we understand it's Azar's birthday today, and she may or may not get to ask a question today, depending on the response from Mr. Keshe. And I'm sure he'll explain everything here. So I think you're ready to go, Mr. Keshe. And if you don't mind, please take it away.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to these weekly knowledge seekers. We had a request from Dr. Azar last week that can we have 2 weeks to answer questions that we can catch up if you don't want to be a tomato. But at the same time, we have to understand if there is such a need, we try to answer as many questions possible. Preferably not all of it from Azar, but anybody else, welcome to. Uh, in the process of this week teaching, try to ask questions which is not so what I call hard. I'm an old man, it's very hard for me to answer questions which are hard. And on the other hand, we try to enlighten you in any shape or form as we can answer. Maybe collectively we can answer some of the questions. There is a couple of parts, as Rick told us. Whenever we find Madame de Rosa, she will read the Dutch version of the so Earth Council documents, and then we have some pictures from Dr. Gatwa, part of teaching in Africa, which is going so well. And then at the same time, as you know, the Keshe Foundation in Africa is getting very active. Africans are bypassing the whole of the European and North America and the Asian continent. There's too much happening there, too much hand-on, too much to catch up. And in so many ways, we have to see how far we can go and how far we can teach. We still stand the commitment of 1,000 students this year to Togo University. If the university comes up with the students from the north of the country that can be educated in the south, we stand the same firm in the, with supporting these kind of works in Africa or anywhere in the world. It is very important for all of us to realize Keshe Foundation has entered a massive change. In a due course, in the next 4 or 5 weeks, we will try to explain and bring this onto line of understanding. By mid-March, hopefully we'll make an announcement in a new course direction for the Keshe Foundation. There's a lot of work is going on in the background for this to happen. A lot of agreements has been reached, a lot of what we call papers getting signed or getting signed or to be ready to be signed, and announcements which has to be made in one way or another. Keshe Foundation has moved into a new dimension of work internationally, and one of the cornerstones of taking the foundation into that level was signed this morning. We are waiting for registration
Mr. Keshe?
authorization. Yes.
Sorry, I just noticed that your voice is really low. Could you move your microphone or check your microphone?
Yes, I am moving it up. I just realized it. And at the same time, we will announce new progress and new dimensions on the Keshe Foundation front. We are looking to establish a number of new areas for the foundation, areas of work, research, and development. We have a number of announcements to make in the coming weeks. We partially on Tuesday announced one of the major changes in part of our research. Keshe Foundation Arizona, as of this month or next month, moves to a full space research center, which means we will be investing millions of dollars into Arizona. I have spoken with John, the head of the Keshe Foundation Arizona, and it's a pleasure for him to accept the position of the head of this research center. We are looking for scientists, and we will write, I personally write to a number of the plasma physicists around the world who are friends of the foundation or are in the major position in their work to join this new research center. We expect to attract, as we had promises, number of scientists from NASA Space Agency. It's just down the road for them to move. Or we are looking for a number of Iranian plasma physicists to be invited to join this collaboration. Iranian plasma physicists have always been allowed to travel into US. They are not nuclear physicists, they are plasma physicists. And there's a lot of collaboration at CERN center between the European Americans and the Iranian scientists in plasma technology. Iranian plasma physicists, including me, we are leading scientists in this field. And we never had any objections for any government for us to move around. At the same time, we are inviting Israeli scientists to join us. This is a breakthrough from every aspect. We invite officially scientists from Russia and United Kingdom and France to join this new plasma arena and era of work in the space. The work is totally and exclusively on a space level and open to all the nations participating. It's not that they come there and they just work or just something to have to do in secret. It's an open base plan for the nations to participate and be part of. Chinese scientists will get the same opportunity as will do with a number of selected countries, especially in Africa. We'll train a number of scientists, plasma physicists, who are of the African origin, or they work with NASA or Boeing, or they are in the background with European research centers. I personally invite, and we have set a very high salary for these scientists to move. Just 1 second, please. I have to answer.
Okay, just bear with us for another minute or so while Mr. Keshe
I'm back. Sorry about
is
that.
back. There we go.
Yes. Um, the the salary set for the scientists who join Keshe Foundation Arizona Space Research Center has set at $250,000 per person. We are attracting the elite, we pay the elite, and we move into one of the highest level research centers for space development. We expect to have at least between 50 to 100 space scientists at this center within the next 12 to 18 months to be built, set up in conjunction with the Africa Center for Space Development Technology in Ghana. The same will go with China. The investment of the Keshe Foundation will match any research center to be able to move in 2018 to a full space program and bring everybody who's knowledgeable in this, means to be able to allow every flexibility for the center to meet. We meet the budget, we can meet the budget, and the Keshe Foundation is in that position to move forward. I thank John in accepting the responsibility for the Keshe Foundation in so many ways to be operational in Arizona. This is important for us. It's very important that we reach this point. And as we said, 2018 is the time of flight for the Keshe Foundation into space. And we're looking for those of us on the foundation front who are expert in this work. Part of us, many of us, are well trained, understand the process, and can be part of this setup. We have set very high salaries to make sure they're is if their excuse is financial, we can attract and meet. Some of the leading scientists will be paid up to $500,000 a year wages to be able to attract, to hold, and be ready for the space development. We have the resources to meet and will meet our commitment. The reason we put these figures in these scientists will work short.
Hello, Mr.
We,
Keshe.
yes, can you
We
hear
lost the
me?
last sentence. That's all.
Okay, this way what was said, we can meet all the demands of the Keshe Foundation target this year. We expect to see no opposition from any government. We invite American scientists, as is American base, to be on equal basis as the rest of the scientists we arrive or we invite. Keshe Foundation Arizona is a registered entity for research and development, and it has every right to take its steps for that level. On the other hand, we're still committed to African development in the space technology, and we thank our people in Italy who have done all the work we've done. We have now have the documentation to move with a full acceptance of the 167 what we call hectares of land that we can develop the space level, as we said, in Ghana. The same will go for China and the other positions which we have worked and we develop. These are all on the back of many of us working so hard to make sure things get in place, in position. To be able to meet the space technology demands of what we're planning to do, it means a rapid development in the centers where we do the flight test of factories that they can produce and support fuel supply, the materials which we can use for a space travel, and the knowledge. So the factories, the research centers link up that whatever they need, it can be met by manufacturing directly. Does not matter how amount of material it will be. I thank my immediate team who's been working very hard with me in the past 4 or 5 weeks to achieve and finalize many, many agreements which lead us to this position. I thank the officials from the governments who have been working with us. And in signing the documents this morning has finalized the final phase of our work. We move into the next phase, which is preparing systems and places for space development technology. In so many ways, I congratulate the whole of the Keshe Foundation. Please do not stop. Doesn't matter what you do. As I said, if you are transcribers, you cannot understand how much we appreciate your work. In the process of working, transcribing, and then getting translated, everybody reaches the same level of the knowledge and understanding. I thank the same, the Keshe Foundation management team, the Keshe Foundation manufacturing management team, our Shenzhen-based management team who are working so hard, and we congratulate you and wish you all the best for the Chinese New Year. The work has become relentless and it's becoming huge for many of us to bear the, what we call, the pleasures which is bringing and will bring to all of us. A number of dignitaries we are getting ready to invite for the opening of Accra and Arizona, and at the same time we invite a number of Keshe Foundation supporters worldwide who've been around us. We have to share this pleasure of the whole development of the Keshe Foundation amongst all the Keshe Foundation supporters. We were planning to start what we call the meeting of the Universal Council, Earth Council, and a core team sometimes in March, April this year. This is too close to the Keshe Foundation operation in Ghana's opening of the factory and then set up the research centers and factories around the world. For this reason, we announced the meeting of the Keshe Foundation teams, core team, Universal Council, and Earth Council will coincide the opening of the Keshe Foundation factory in Ghana. We meet all in Ghana. We announce the time and the place. Once the full operational testing is done, and we go for official opening. It's time for Africa to shine. In so many ways, we all have worked to achieve this, and now we see the change and the progress. This should not bring us arrogance, but it should bring us humbleness. How what I call a civil organization, totally civilians, have managed to make such a huge move. In so many ways, it's been a hard work. As Rick said, we've been working 5 years at it in public teaching, but we've been working on it over 20 years in feeding it worldwide and spreading the knowledge. There is a number of announcements and developments which are getting set for March of this year, and we will announce it accordingly. March of this year is be sometime second, third week of March. International collaborations with the Keshe Foundation will come into fruition one by one. And we expect to request all the Keshe Foundation supporters who've been working around the world with us to move in position that we become international teachers for the technology. What this means, we are planning a massive teaching program in 2018, and there's nobody better than those who learn the technology by heart. And they followed it, and they understand it, and they can deliver it. We are not looking to train teachers to train the others. We have teachers amongst all of us. We all will make mistakes, big or small, but the technology is so big that will be overlooked. The pleasure which will bring is so huge that the changes it brings will overlook any mistakes any of us individually or group shall make. It's a pleasure to be. I have worked very hard, and the team of the Keshe Foundation in the background have worked relentlessly for months to achieve the signing of the documents of this morning. We have achieved what we started years ago, and this signing of the agreement this morning is congratulations to all of us. We don't disclose the detail of the agreement because it needs to be done by the governments, not by us. In due course, it will be shown and it will be delivered. At this moment of time, as Azar has asked us, there are many questions. And if we allow Azar to ask the first question, none of us will get a chance to ask any more questions for the rest of the day. So, Azarjan, if you can hold fire, can we have some other people to ask questions before you start your question time, please?
No problem, Mr. Keshe, but I thought Carolina is going to read the Dutch.
When I find her, you can have her, no problem. She's not there at the moment, you just gotta wait a bit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions?
I'll remind people that are attendees in the Zoom chat here that you can put your hand up. That's your virtual hand, not your real hand. And we can promote you to a panelist in order to speak. And I see that Mark Erb has his hand up. And I'll promote you, Mark, and you can have something to say. Hello, Mark.
Yes, Mr. Keshe. What's happening with global warming throughout the whole solar system?
Are you from Holland or are you from another part of the world?
I'm from the United States.
Oh my God, you believe the lie.
Uh-huh.
The global warming was, or the greenhouse effect was the brainchild of a Dutchman, and he managed to sell it. And it doesn't exist. Is what we see is the cycle, part of the cycle of the planet, and it just repeats itself. And at the same time, we don't enter. We are continuously on the move towards the sun. So the height, the temperature of this planet over time will go higher anyway. This was a brainchild of a Dutchman. Let's make some money out of a nonsense, and a lot of people believed it because a lot of people made money for it to believe it. It doesn't exist.
I'm asking also about the rest of the planets in the solar system. They seem to like all be doing something.
We are continuously on the move. It's a dynamic system. It has a heartbeat.
Would not they all be moving closer to the sun as well?
We are
If
all
the
doing. We are all
right,
doing.
that
From the
makes sense.
time
Getting warmer.
we all do. From the time of the inception of a planet in the far corners of the solar system, there's only one destiny, the end, which is merging back to the sun. It's like saying the clouds stay in the sky, will never come down. One day they become moisture and they rain down. It's the reality. You have a gravitational field mass of a planet when it becomes a planet, and then you have a gravitational magnetic field mass of the sun. You get pulled in, and as you get closer, it gets warmer. It's a ABC. There is nothing can miss in between, unless those who are Dutch and they can call it the global warming and everything else. As I said in one of my talks, there is as much truth about global warming as Father Christmas. You understand?
Yes, thank you.
If you believe in the physicality of Father Christmas, Coca-Cola managed to sell it to you so beautifully, you believe in global warming. Scientifically it does not exist because there is a balance in the whole cycle of life on this planet. And the changes are needed for a planet to be able to carry on with its work. The amount of fuel we burn is nothing compared to the amount of energy we absorb from the solar system and the universal galaxy, and internally from the heat of the earth. And the more we create CO2, if you understood the teaching of the horizontal and the vertical what I call beings in past few weeks, you understand, the more you have CO2 the plants absorb, the oxygen, the more oxygen you get into the system. And having oxygen with the hydrogen, you increase the level of the seas. This is how most of the water on this planet creates. And the water didn't come from nowhere, or Earth didn't cry to create it. The process of the, what we call breeding of our plants, allow the further increase in oxygen. And that oxygen in certain levels, in interaction with the fields of the other ways which the hydrogen occurs on this planet, leads to the creation of the, what we call the water. Now we understand the process. It's all the things. Just ask yourself a single question: where did all these waters in the oceans come? One drop, two drops, or did it all suddenly somebody poured it in and took into planet Zeus? Part of the process of the plants which we planted, herbs, grass, or whatever, is the production of oxygen. But there is not enough animals on this planet to breathe all this oxygen in. And then what happens to the extra oxygen? So we should be oxygen saturated. The conversion of the additional oxygen with the hydrogen, which is in the interaction of the pool of the system, as you pull in more amino acid to feed the plant, it itself leads to creation of vapor, or what we call water molecules. This is how water is created on this planet. If anybody can show us any other way, we just accept our oceans. But how these oceans are created? Where did the water come from? Earth was a dry piece of space debris billions of years ago. In a position, in a creation of, is just the angle axis, what we call 5 degree, has created to the whole system. And this system continuously produces vapor, continuously produces water. Ask yourself a simple question. It's only 7 billion of us. It's nothing, it's peanuts. Do you know how many trees are on this planet? The grasses, the weeds and everything else. How many thousand lions are left? Do the ants breathe so much oxygen that they need such amount of oxygen conversion by trees? The process of life on this planet leads to creation of water moisture. And that water moisture, the more CO2 is put into it, the more oxygen it creates, the more water, the more moisture. We create nothing compared to what we extract from the ground and we burn. It's a nonsense. At least when I put the equation of equality of the balance of the materials on this planet, it doesn't make sense. Even if we have 7 billion cars, we still don't touch that much the effect of the balance on this planet. Because do you know how many trillion trees are on this planet? The guy wanted to sell trees to cash some money in, and he sold the idea. And as we said, if you believe global warming is true, read the same note written by the same people which Mr. Al Gore, ex-president of the United States, said. And I've said it many times. It's getting so bad, and the lies became so big that now it explodes. What did he say in the global warming conference as head of global warming appointed by United Nations? That it's getting so bad that the bears are eating the penguins. And there was one intelligent scientist in the auditorium said, excuse me, Mr. President of the global warming appointed by United Nations. But the thing is, the bears live in the North Pole.
The polar bears, I think you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And the penguins live in the South Pole. How can they eat each other? And the whole lies about the whole thing surfaced, and we don't see that much of it anymore.
So the plasma.
Sorry, carry on.
So the plasmatic view of the solar system can lead to a lot greater understanding about what's happening on each of the planets.
We have to be realistic. You have to understand the sun has a heartbeat. It's part of the balance of his work, the same as the earth has, the same as a man has. And that heartbeat creates a balance of fields and the distribution of the fields across the solar system. The solar system is not the shape of an egg ball as you think, or a football. It's all crooked and twisted in where the fields of other galaxies and planets and everything else exert pressure on it. It's not a clear cut. The pressure is not always the same. It's like a balloon with 20 of us having 10, all our 10 fingers on it and pushing out. Wherever it squeezes in and out, it goes between our fingers and everything else. The simple idea of time and position is gone, because now we see more, we understand more. It's very much, if you, as I said, these things have become to the point that we accepted all the rubbish in one go. Look at it. Just look at the map of the Africa and Europe. I've mentioned it many times. You can fit the whole of the European continent into Zaire and Sudan. So the rest of the countries on the map do not exist, or we lied so much so well that we accepted it. What is going the rest of it? Where is Accra? Where is God knows everything else? Where do they fit in Europe? We have accepted a lot of fallacies to fit those who wanted to rule. Now we're all equal. We can accept the facts and the reality of what it is. The more CO2 we create, the number of plants we have, the more water we'll get on the surface of this planet. That's a fact. But at the same time, as we become closer to the sun, there's a conversion ratio of the fields, not the matter state, which creates new conditions. We see creation of new heavier materials as we go closer to the sun. Because the lighter materials will leave and will literally dissipate into the background to be captured by the next cycle. But these things, billions of years, we don't have that time frame to watch. Maybe now that the man has the opportunity to live for thousands of years, can see the difference, can observe it, but 50 years, 100 years is nothing in the cycle of solar system. Without expansion and increase in carbon oxide, or CO2, we have no water. The rise of the sea is because of the conversion of the hydrogen and oxygen amalgamation in creation of water, nothing to do with global warming. This is was, at the beginning, was one drop of rain. And more plants converted, created the hydrogen, converted what you call the oxygen out of the CO2, as we understand, which is exactly, if you look at it, you got to understand the process of what you call conversion of creation of oxygen. Look what is there: carbon, nitrogen, and hydrogen, and oxygen. In a plant, you have nitrogen in a balance, depends what field adds to, it becomes gravitational one, and what it gives to what is collected now adds up to the other, what is oxygen. But it's not just the oxygen which is released by the leaf. There are so many other elements. So many other elements in the process are released into the atmosphere. It's not just oxygen. Now we know more, we can understand and face the reality. You just look at one simple thing. Put a copper plate, put a zinc plate. You get the CO2 because you create the fields of carbon. What happens when you add a nail into it, iron? You start creating, if it's in contact and in conjunction with the amino acid on the surface, you start creating blood. Many of you never tried. Put another metal in the same and see what else is created. And then now you walk in the jungle, one plant absorbs calcium, the other one is good with magnesium from the environment, the other one is there, and they're all in the gas state. What are the things plants are releasing? In a single ideal case, yes, you're correct. Only oxygen, but no, everything is there. And at the same time, it creates new amino acids. When we digest, when we eat the vegetables, do you know how much um, protein we absorb from the surface of them, which the plant has absorbed? It's not that just we eat the vegetation, we eat the protein, amino acid at the level which the plant has accepted too. It's not a one-line life, it's a composite. We have to understand this, we have to understand this totality. We have to understand, we have to look at the general totality. We are moving toward the sun, that's no shadow of a doubt. You make a magnet, so you have gravitational field systems, your dynamic system, now you can replicate it. As I said in the teaching on Tuesday, very soon we'll show, hopefully be able to show the system which can show magnetic field, plasmatic magnetic field. And this will help us a lot, will support us a lot to develop new technologies. It's a brainchild of one scientist.
Mr. Keshe, I just have to add something to this. We're getting closer to the sun, and at one point, planet Earth, Mother Earth gave birth to us. But now, as we're getting closer to the sun, when this planet is going to give birth to the new child of the birth, Earth. Do we have any time?
No, we don't. There is no time. It's just the way it works. Depends on a lot of factors. How we get pulled to the center of the solar system is not depending only on the sun. It depends on a twin star. It's like if I hang you in a ball, like you put you in a jelly ball, and I press on one side. If you're 10 centimeters further from the center, now I push on one side, you become 5 centimeters. You had no say in it because outside pressure forces you in your position. And magnetic gravitational field forces of the galaxies are directing with us. I explained this in the teachings before. Can I share a screen, please?
Yes, you want me to give you a whiteboard?
I've got my whiteboard.
Oh, you got it. Okay, thank you.
I'm getting past my age, remembering a little bit.
Very good. That relates directly to a question that Jan had in the live stream about the second sun, and does it have an effect on the Earth warming?
Yes, of course, everything. You see, what we know as, let's say this is the Milky Way. What happened to my paint? I go this way. Okay. As we know, Milky Way has different arms. Let's look at it this way. Yeah? We know how these arms created. We are somewhere around here at this moment, let's say. We are very, very close to the edge of the outer edges of the solar system, as we can see, to the galaxy. Let's say in this galaxy, we are somewhere here. We are moving in this direction. But as we move in, now let's take this blue. This is our solar system. This is the sun. 26 million years ago or 100 million years ago, we were there. Today, we are here. 26 million years ago, we were here. As we move into dimension, going closer, the field forces of the galaxy pushes us in. The shape of, let's say, the solar system 20 million years ago was not like really like this, was like this. Because it had more freedom. There were less pressures on the outside. We understand the fallacy of the earth is the center of the universe. Now we know was a very good way to sell a lot of things that frighten people. But now when you look at it, the earth not only is getting closer to its gravitational magnetic field force, because earth, there is no difference between earth and a drop of rain. This is the surface of the earth. Vapor goes up and it comes back down as a rain. So does the earth in the solar system. There is no difference. Unless we want to make it different, that we are that special. So that's different, huh? Every one of us thinks we are special to our mom and dad, but the mom loves only one. Are we still special? But they love a special thing about us. There's a special thing about the earth. It's got very active life. But as we get pushed on both ways, one on this direction and one in this direction, of course you get an increase in temperatures and pressures and whatever. You want to blame it on the virgin girl that used to sacrifice, or you want to blame it on the reality of understanding the science of the universe? It depends on your intelligence.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Keshe, we have Pete who would like to, he says he has 3 questions from, I believe the Polish group. Pete, are you there, ready to?
Yes, I am. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Good morning, Rick.
Morning.
So I got, so my name is Pete. I'm UC member for the Polish language. And the questions are as follows. So the first one is from a doctor in our group. Actually, the doctor is my mother. So when we were presenting one of the recent knowledge seeker workshops, there was one that talked about the connection of each of the blood cell to each of the other cells in the body, in a way that a blood cell is a messenger, carries the information or the energy, delivers it to a given cell in the body. So the question relates to this and is as follows. What happens when we transfer the blood? What happens in the body of the person that the blood is transferred to? How does the blood cell behaves when there is no longer an entity to serve? And also what happens in the body of the person that gave the blood? when these cells, these blood cells, are then suddenly missing?
Nothing. That's why we have a bone marrow and we continuously produce them. Any depletion, it's an automatic system set. This I was talking in a very touchy way last week about the amputation. We see deficiencies in blood if the bone marrow cannot produce it. But at the same time, some of our blood in a liquid condition is produced by position of our organs. These blood cells are in field positions, dictates the message to the bone marrow in the bloodstream. And the only reason we get these, what we call blood transfusions, and it works, is just covering the liquid that it can bring the bone marrow back to operation, that it can go through its cycle of position, because temporarily they literally don't do much. They still go through the cycle of life. But in that process, they fill in the position for what is short from the body by the bone marrow. Don't forget, we have a reserve of blood cells and the strength needed all the time deposited as part of our liver. It can be called upon immediately. There is always a backup match. This is why our liver has this structure. It's a storage not for vitamins, it's a storage for more or less parallel blood cells for every cell that if it need be, it can call upon. Our livers is a storage tank of every material body needs, the amounts it needs by ratio. And this applies to the blood too, and the lymph. When you get an amputation, suddenly lose an arm and a leg and all the blood goes, so there should be nothing going to the brain. The brain immediately, the system is set up in the depletion of, is the replacement of, till the bone marrow replaces in due time. Our liver, that's why they say the liver supplies blood. It does, in fact, what it is a reserve tank. But when you get the infusions or whatever, it's just keeping keeping the circulation going till the body comes in. When you lose blood, they give you injection just to pump in to keep the pressure on. Most of the time, when you receive a blood transfusion, it allows more blood on the way. There is a ratio in the volume of the blood and the blood vessels capacity. When you push it, then it creates a different pressure. When you pull it or extract from it, it creates a different pressure. And all that is fully monitored by this part, is embedded in the pancreas at the same time as it's embedded in the thymus, and at the same time as embedded as part of its operation in the brain of the man. That what it needs, what is the replacement time of a cell, and if that cell gravitational magnetic field moves, it means it needs a replacement. It's very much like a star. I explained to you, when you pressurize one part of the jelly, the planet moves in. If you put a magnetic field pressure, the blood pressure in so many ways dictates the flow of the cells from the bone marrow. This is one of the major works of your blood cells or blood circulation. The pumping, which is the charge and discharge of the gas levels. You've seen this in the work of your reactors. If you look at the dynamic reactors, when they reach a point, they turn back. I've explained this many times. It's the same as your heart. The way the heart turns and it goes back, what we call the pumping of it, is dictated by the charge capacity of the gans of the cells of the heart. They reach a point and they want to turn back, and that turn back creates the heartbeat. We understand the process fully. I explained this years ago in the teachings. And in that process, there is a certain amount of blood you can put in, and then if the bloods are there, you put them in the reserve of the liver. And at the same time, that's why when we cut a liver, it grows back in. It doesn't stay half. It just reproduces most of it, because the shape of the liver is created by the state of the soul of the man in preserving the whole totality. This field stays there. It just gets filled up. Just because we don't see it, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Most of the body parts in the body of the man is pre-positioned. It's just the material, the kidney, whatever fills up that position due to gravitational magnetic field, which is preset in the DNA and RNA of the body of the man. If you can reposition, recreate the same condition, you take a kidney away, the kidney will appear in that position. If we can keep the field dimensions in it, this is how we produce. When you cut a finger, we have shown it, cutting a toe, you can reproduce it because you keep that gravitational magnetic field. Organs in the body of the man, if the doctors even dare to do this and go to that limit of creating the shape of a kidney, understanding that they have to create all the gravitational magnetic field. Yes, yes, Papa, yes, I know you're. Sorry about that. Yes, can I just say hello to the little boy, otherwise he won't go quiet. If we understand, and the doctors can do the pressure, can you pick him up, please? Yes, 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 I know you're home. So, can you pick him up, please? And they can create the right condition, nano-coated or GANS-coated shape of the kidney will develop in there. We never had the knowledge, but now the new generation of scientists can do so. Very simple. If you cut a finger or you have amputation, and you can create at the same time very fast a reflection of the heat temperature loss as in the tail of the animals who lose their tail, the flow of the current of information will carry the cells of the body to carry on. The finger will grow back in its place. So is the kidney and the liver. We've done this, we have pictures of it, we can show it. It's not theory. As I said, very soon now, we're in the new phase of developments which the foundation will come through. Now you will understand. In the next few weeks, you will hear massive expansion in Keshe Foundation work around the world. Massive. I don't think we can have enough trained knowledge seekers to train this of humanity. I cannot explain how the Keshe Foundation has developed to one of the major corporations in the world in the coming weeks. You will see, you will understand. And this means all of us who had the knowledge, even we know how to GANS code, we need to teach. Teaching becomes prime objectives of the foundation in the coming weeks. We have to. And these are part of the teachings. The knowledge has reached that point. There's no doubt about it. If you understand positioning of the gravitational magnetic field, the way we create the toe, the way we can recreate the kidney, the field interaction in the body of the man will call for, because of due balance, for the blood replacement, cells from the bone marrow. And once one goes, the other part of the body comes into operation to support. And they do a good job. We don't see people who lose both legs amputated from the hip down dying. The other bones come into operation, they replace to meet the demand. The lymph operation changes within the direction of the liver, that the liver takes part of the work of the bone marrow. The instinct for survival is very strong and is well organized internally.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Can I ask another one, please?
Yep. You're getting as bad as us are. Okay, no problem.
Yes, so I'm not being selfish because I'm not one question, so I've been asked to ask you.
I cannot hear you.
sorry, these are not my questions. I've been asked.
I know, I gathered that.
to ask these. So I'm fulfilling this promise that I would try my best to ask these. So Piotr, one of the knowledge seekers, asked me in relation to 147th knowledge seeker workshop, where types of cancer are discussed, and there's one so-called genetic, or the one inherited through genes, through DNA. Same in the cancer blueprint. That left breast is connected to the mother, right one is connected to some other conditions. So in these examples, we observe some sort of correlation between, the cause and effect. The DNA carries some information, RNA changes the information as a result of our emotions, and so on. So there are two questions to do with this. First one is this information that is stored in DNA, as per the examples I've given, is this information connected to some programs, procedures, which are switched on, off through individual emotional states?
In so many ways, each one has a filter. Each emotional state has a filter. Depends what filter you put, you will get with the effect. If you put a blue filter, you get a blue color. And each emotion, what it could be blue to me is green to you. What is happiness to you is laughter to me, and is a cry to another. The filter, the very much is how our emotion interacts with it. I was with a very top level guy in his own right this morning. And what he said to me was very strange. He said, I have a very bad pain in my stomach. When I touch it, it hurts. And he said, I had it about 6 months ago, and I took some medicine, it got better. And then it started again past couple of days. And we asked a simple question. He said, oh, I had a 200 milliliter of alcohol on Sunday, and he started. I asked him 2 questions, no more. I said, but he said in his communication, I said to him, did anybody in your family had a cancer of stomach? He said, yes, my father, his brother, and my grandmother. I said, okay. I said, was your father alcoholic too? He said, he used to drink, yes. I said, the fear of what your grandmother died of, what your father and uncle died of, exists with you. So you're creating the same emotion of cancer, because they had it, you have it, and that's what's going to happen. And then when I asked your father was alcoholic, he said yes, because you relate that stomach cancer to alcohol, he was drinking whatever, and now you had a drink, you relate it. So your stomach condition is a psychosomatic from what you have a fear of, you're creating, and then this will lead inevitably to cancer of stomach. And then you say it becomes inherited. For me to stop the cycle is to change the state of mind and then support the emotion. And then there is no such thing. Because we create that filter, psychosomatic condition that will lead to the creation of what we want it to, or what we perceive to be. And sometimes we receive the fields within our structure that interacts with the level of emotion and leads to creation of certain things, which is part of evolution and environmental. Man's emotion is the best weapon for destruction of the man, and man has not realized it yet. There is no bullet than the bullet of emotion for demise of the man. We create our own diseases, and because of it, we die. And we blame everybody else and everything else except our own conducts of emotion. And when it carries on like this, then we say it becomes inherited, because then the mother died of cancer that time, and now the brother felt so bad, the father felt so bad that the mother died or would die because obviously it's my mother. So I get the same now, it's become the 3rd generation. And I promise I can put the guy back in together like a Humpty Dumpty in less than 3 weeks.
So could we say that such programs of predisposition is just an availability of a given field strength in the body and the physicality, like we discussed, that, you know, being here on earth, living here, our soul of physicality is in touch with loads of, you know, elements from the periodic table and so on. So the spectrum of creation and other dimensions for us becomes quite wide, and emotions are just triggering, creating a condition of physicality is fed by emotions, and a given physical condition such as cancer and so on can appear.
Very much so. I always say, you know, I'm the best fear machine for a lot of people. And that fear brings a lot of people not respecting you, but being afraid of you. That creates that fear. And I carry one stupid title, nuclear physicist. The first thing hits them, oh, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. And these guys can kill, so we have to respect them. They have value. But my degree, my pen, and my paper is no different than the guy what in electrical engineering and the others. The fear brings a lot of our diseases to us.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. There was a second part of Piotr's question, but you have already addressed this. So I thank you very much for answering these questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Yes, certainly. We have a question from in the chat, Q&A chat in Zoom here from Ram, who says,
Can I ask, please do not change, keep on changing videos or whatever. Somehow I get kicked out and I have to come back in again. Try to keep it, even a still picture would be better. Somehow over the minute something goes on, I get kicked out and it comes back in. I don't fall out because of bandwidth. It's just every time a YouTube or something changes or starts, then I run into problem. The system, Zoom kicks me out.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah, you
you.
need to update, Mr. Keshe. That's
Pardon?
you just need to update your software. That's all.
I know, I keep on forgetting. I'll do it next time, and next time I come too late to update it.
Okay, well, maybe we can work that out after the workshop then.
Yeah. You lot gotta come and do it.
Okay, we made the background still. Maybe that'll help a bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question from Ram is, as Mr. Keshe said last week, the soul is the home in space. Ram says this is what we call death, since the physicality disappears and the soul remains. What is the use of the spaceship if there is no physicality?
We make a spaceship for those who prefer to have a physicality with them. That's what I've said many times.
Yes,
And the spaceship is for has been one of, I've said this before and I'll rephrase it that we understand more of. It's very much, we have doctors and we have professors and we have factory workers and we have shopkeepers and we have those who never been to school to understand the maths, and we have the rest. It's the same with the school of universe. We have different races at different level of intelligence. Those who wanted the donkey, they sat in on the donkey and they go around. Those who like a car, they get in the car. Those who know a bicycle, they get on a bicycle. Those of you are happy with the private jets and the helicopters, and those are not who are happy, you make a rocket and put a car in and send it to space. That I have a car, new car park, I call it the universe. It's the same with the race of the universe. We have people at different level of understanding, We have creatures at the different level of development. We have creatures who got stuck at a given level of development, or those who like to experience different dimensions and directions. The spaceship is part of it. As I said from the beginning of my teachings, I take man to space as an equal and not a subordinate. When you're equal, you have everything the other ones have, you have a choice which one you want to have. When you're subordinate, you're told to fit and you have to fit within the frame. I teach the man to be equal. So I teach you everything from how you can use your soul. If you want a spaceship, we make you the course. If you like to be in the matter of physicality, we give you a gas water, because water doesn't exist anywhere else in the universe except on this planet, more or less. So, spaceship, those who like to travel, is what I said to Caroline one of the first times when we had a discussion, why do you come on this planet? I said the physicality is so beautiful. When you can touch a woman, you can kiss a woman. We don't have it in the universe. How am I going to get a piece of cloud or fields moving around? Physicality has a pleasure. Dimension of existence has a pleasure. And then it depends on you where you want to be, and depends on the level of understanding. What would like to have a pleasure with? Would like to be on a physical dimension or the soul dimension, or when you have everything in your hand, is the freedom of choice. When you don't have, is the dictating of the condition. And the knowledge I teach is the freedom of the man in the space. You can choose, but at the same time I have to teach you everything else. It's you who chooses. It's better to have a choice than be told what to do. And that's what it is, the spaceship and the rest of it. There is more I can teach you. Would you like, I was explaining a couple of days ago, there is a development in the process. We saw this some times ago with Ali in Canada, and I deliberately damped it down because a lot of people were not aware of, could not understand it, where you can be in the room and not be in the room. Presence of absence. What happens to your soul then? How come I'm still here but nobody can see me? Still a lot to learn. As I said many times, in this room, in the place where we sit, is not just us. Physical matter, objective chairs and tables. There are others around us that if we had the, what I call the three-dimensional glasses of the universe, we would have seen all of them. They're laughing their head off. What are these guys doing? It's your choice. We give you everything, you choose how you want to. Don't forget, you can still take a donkey in a spaceship, huh? Doesn't mean you are the donkey, or the donkey is there for you to remember there was such an animal on this planet.
After all, they just sent a car off into space, so that's almost the same thing as putting a donkey on a spaceship in a way.
Yes, that's correct. Why not? I just been told by Madame de Rosa she would like to read her constitution. Do we give her the right? Any Dutch ones left? This is only for the guys in Netherlands, as we have cut all the access to Belgium. They cannot reach on the stage, try to go back now. But she's a Dutch speaking, and in one shape or another she's called Madame de Rosa. We have to give her the right.
Fried says in the live stream chat, looking forward to the Dutch version of the Earth Council Constitution read by Mrs. Keshe. Awesome coincidence, he says. He's one of our Dutch
Yes.
knowledge seekers.
Would you like to read it? Do you want my headphone? It's easier. Oh, we are ready.
And can you share the text of it, or do we?
You got it. Can you share it? Then she can share my screen.
Okay, I think Flint can share it there, or I can if Flint doesn't want to. There, it's already up. I say the words.
Oh my God, living with a Dutchman for 30 years, I still can't read a single Dutch. That's not a bad thing, is it? I know.
Give me some time to adjust the microphone, please.
Just tell me when to scroll up.
If this is the beginning, no problem. There is the beginning. Stop. De grondwet van de blauwe planeet Aarde. Wij, de zielen van alle wezens die met blauwe planeet Aarde verbonden zijn, verklaren bij deze één natie, één planeet, één ras. You can scroll up, please. Stop. One Planet United in Peace, de grondwet. De Earth Council is in het leven geroepen om te garanderen dat door gelijke rechten te geven aan alle wezens er nooit meer een conflict of oorlog zal zijn op deze planeet en daarbuiten, tussen alle geschapen wezens en bewoners. Het einde van de oorlog en de totstandbrenging van de vrede zal worden bereikt, door het inzicht in het potentieel van alle geschapen wezens. De weg naar vrede luidt als volgt. Het inzicht brengen van inzicht dat oplossingen worden bereikt door dialoog en verheffing van de ziel van de tegenstander in tegenstelling door afbraak of vernedering van iemands ziel of fysieke bestaan. Vrede zal het doel zijn van elke stap in het bestaan van elk wezen op deze planeet. De Earth Council zal de vlaggendrager zijn van deze beweging om een omgeving te scheppen waarin vrede op aarde kan worden ervaren. Vrede moet de hoeksteen van het bestaan zijn, tussen degenen die van deze planeet komen en of ervoor kiezen om op deze planeet te leven, maar ook voor degenen die van de aarde zijn en ervoor kiezen om in de ruimte te leven. De aarde zal de wieg van de vrede worden, voor de evolutie van alle rassen. Wij, de Earth Council, erkennen dat de aarde deel uitmaakt van het zonnestelsel, de Melkweg, het universum en de gehele kosmos. Als zodanig moet de planeet een deel worden van de cyclus van de schepping door de planeet en alle wezens die op haar leven te steunen om zichzelf voorbij de huidige cyclus van evolutie te verheffen tot een meer bevredigend en vreedzaam bestaan. Wij erkennen Moeder Aarde als een levende entiteit die haar eigen ziel heeft. Alle atomen, planten, dieren, mensen, insecten, microben en meer, en alles wat nog ontdekt zal worden, erkennen wij als zielen die zowel de essentie van de schepper als de velden van de planeet Aarde delen. Samen vormen we samen de gezamenlijke ziel van de planeet. Thank you. We erkennen dat alle andere wezens op deze planeet dienen te worden ondersteund, gevoed en gekoesterd om in hun vrede te gedijen. Met begrip van dieren, planten, ecosystemen en andere niet zichtbare wezens, evenals Moeder Aarde zelf. Alles zal worden ondersteund om te groeien en te gedijen, want dit zal op haar beurt het leven verbeteren, niet alleen op deze planeet, maar alle van de totaliteit zoals we erkennen dat we deel uitmaken van het geheel. Wederzijdse samenwerking, medewerking, delen en bijdragen aan het welzijn van iedereen zal de kern zijn van de Earth Council. Ons doel is om de planeet als geheel en elk wezen dat hier leeft te ondersteunen. We zullen dienen om een omgeving van koestering en harmonie te creëren waarin alle wezens kunnen groeien en gedijen op hun eigen unieke manier. Dank u. Elk continent van de aarde wordt vertegenwoordigd door één lid, namelijk Afrika, Azië, Australië, Europa, Noord-Amerika en Zuid-Amerika. Elk lid vertegenwoordigt de behoeften en wensen van de volkeren die op hun continent leven, evenals alle wezens die er wonen. Selectieprocedures, de leden moeten op ten minste 2 continenten hebben gewoond en ten minste 2 talen spreken. Dit maakt een breder perspectief van begrip mogelijk wanneer men rekening moet houden met de behoeften van de gehele mensheid. Duidelijkheid voor de zielen. De 6 leden van de Earth Council zijn hier om te dienen vanuit het begrip van hun zielen door de manifestatie van hun fysieke belichaming. Dank u. Earth Council mandaat om te ondersteunen en dienen, voorzien en beschermen. Breng onze zielen het begrip dat de macht binnenin is om zichzelf te besturen, in interactie met andere zielen om een vreedzame samenleving te creëren. Onze intentie is om het beste van het beste uit te brengen in elk levende ziel op deze blauwe planeet die we aarde noemen. Geef onze ziels fysieke belichaming de vrijheid om in vrede, liefde en vertrouwen te leven op deze planeet en in de ruimte. Onze wensen zijn voor alle levende wezens in de schepping om te wonen in vrede, harmonie en rust. Het is tijd om de middelen op een eerlijke en rechtvaardige manier onder alle wezens op voet van gelijkheid te krijgen en te delen. Dank u. De Earth Council zal dienen en beschermen om alle wezens te voorzien van het volgende: vrijheid van uitdrukking, vrijheid van expressie, vrijheid van verplaatsing, vrij zijn van honger, vrijheid van gebrek aan goederen, vrijheid om het pad te ontdekken en begrijpen van de ziel, vrijheid om te leren, vrijheid om bij te dragen aan de samenleving met onze talenten en wat we als vervulling zien. Vrijheid om te kiezen door onze ziel hoe en wanneer we ons willen manifesteren in een embodiment of niet. Vrijheid van lijf en goed. Vrijwaren van elke onderdrukking, van nieuwe en innovatieve technologie en informatie voor vreedzame toepassingen. Vrijheid om te delen. Dank u. Vrijheid van denken. Vrijheid van liefde en geven. Keuzevrijheid. Vrijheid van taal. Vrij zijn van een monetair stelsel. Vrijwaring van bestraffing. Geen gevangenisstraf of executie. Geen gevangenschap of executie. Vrijwaring van conflict en oorlog. Vrij van angst voor anderen die ons deze vrijheden ontzeggen. Er mogen geen nationale of regionale grenzen zijn. Geen onderscheid tussen kleuren, rassen of geloofsovertuiging. Geen culturele vooringenomenheid of monetaire barrières die een van de ander scheiden of oneerlijk bevooroordelen. Dank u. Er zijn geen erfelijke titels of geërfde leiderschapsfuncties die koningschap, familie, didactuur of royalties van welke titel dan ook omvatten. Er zal geen angst zijn voor bestraffing voor welke misdaad dan ook. De verheffing van de ziel van degenen die zich schuldig maken aan onrecht zal de afschaffing van alle vormen van gevangenisstraf en doodstraf mogelijk maken. Door onderwijs en kennis te delen op zielsniveau zullen alle wezens zichzelf verheffen. Straf geeft geen plaats voor het zielenniveau in het begrijpen van zijn of haar eigen talent. Er is geen behoefte aan een monetair stelsel dat goederen en diensten uitwisselt voor werk. We zullen een omgeving creëren waarin geld geen plaats heeft in de samenleving. Wanneer aan alle fysieke behoeften van alle wezens wordt voldaan, zal er de basis gelegd zijn om onszelf en de anderen op een plezierige manier te uiten. Het einde van het monetaire systeem zal het tijdperk van gezonde mensen en ware liefde brengen tussen alleen op deze blauwe planeet Aarde. Werken moet zijn voor de pure vreugde ervan, of voor het plezier om anderen te dienen en de ziel van onszelf en anderen te verheffen. Allen die willen dienen als beslissers en gidsen, kunnen aanbieden om te dienen met zielsbegrip en de goedkeuring van anderen, zodat zij de vereiste rol kunnen vervullen. De verheffing van begrip zal ons toelaten om de unieke talenten van een ziel te erkennen, die hen in staat stelt om ten dienste te staan van anderen en de gehele mensheid te verheffen. Deze mensen zullen dienen om hoogte in anderen te verlichten en inspireren. Leiderschap komt van de ziel van de mens en met instemming van anderen om te dienen. Dank u. We respecteren alle vormen en vormen van alle entiteiten op deze blauwe planeet, aarde en daarbuiten. Ieder wezen op aarde krijgt dezelfde vrijheden. Degenen die de vrijheid hebben om in vrede met alle anderen te leven in een omgeving van wederzijdse waardigheid en respect. Iedereen heeft de keuzevrijheid om te leven op de door hem gewenste wijze. Bijvoorbeeld zolang er aandacht en respect is voor anderen. Alle wezens op de planeet moeten worden ondersteund om hen in staat te stellen zonder schaarste te leven. Basistoegang tot onderdak, water, voedsel, veiligheid, materialen en vrijheid van energiegebruik in het veld. Aarde of universele hulpbronnen moeten prioriteit zijn, evenals vrede en stabiliteit om emotioneel welzijn en het nastreven van verlichting mogelijk te maken. Alle diversiteit wordt erkend als unieke en diverse uitdrukkingen van de schepper en zal worden omarmd en gevierd worden als de brengen van rijkdom in ons leven. Dank u. Ieder wezen zal worden ondersteund en aangemoedigd worden om kennis op te doen. De mensheid in het bijzonder heeft de vrijheid nodig om deze kennis te verkennen en te begrijpen, die alleen kan worden verworven zonder dat er voortdurend moet worden gewerkt om te overleven. Het creëren van de instrumenten om onafhankelijke, zelfverantwoordelijke mensen te worden, moet een prioriteit zijn. De ziel van de wezens zal in een verantwoordelijke, rechtvaardige, correcte, eerlijke manier het leven dicteren en regeren, ten behoeve van alle schepping in gelijke maatregelen. Voor het eerst in de geschiedenis van de mens met vrije wil vanuit het zielsniveau. Zal leren hoe je de ziel vanaf de kindertijd leert kennen. Wanneer zich natuurrampen voordoen, moeten alle mensen in het gebied de hulp schieten en iedereen steunen zonder enige tegenprestatie. Dit omvat het begrijpen van het ecosysteem van de planeet en wat alle wezens nodig hebben in hun levenscyclus. Alle wezens zullen toegang hebben tot hulpbronnen en deze delen in tijden van overvloed en rampen. Dank u. Als er een conflict ontstaat, moeten we onderhandelen over een vreedzame oplossing voor alle partijen en de gehele mensheid moet een duurzame vrede ervaren. Dit is alleen haalbaar als rekening wordt gehouden met de behoeften van alle partijen. Alle wezens verdienen bescherming tegen schade aan hun embodiment en emotie. Dank u. Besluitvormingsproces. Geen meerderheid zal inbreuk maken op de vrijheden van de minderheid. Consensus zal worden bereikt door dialoog en verheffing van de ziel van de mens. Elke beslissing moet in ieders voordeel zijn. Elk wezen zal in alle opzichten gerespecteerd, eerlijk en gelijk behandeld worden. De zielen van de wezens zullen bij elke actie op vreedzame wijze regeren. Vrede brengen naar de planeet en iedereen die hier leeft moet altijd ons doel zijn. De behoeften van iedereen dienen is de enige manier om dit te bereiken. Uitnodiging. Kom alle wezens van de kleinste tot de grootste schepping om te vieren, te proeven en de vrede, liefde, vertrouwen en vrijheid te omarmen. Alle wezens zijn hier om het hoogste niveau van mens en bewustzijn, verheffing van alle zielen te verhogen. Alle zielen, leg alle wapens van agressie, haat en geschillen neer. Laten we vrede en rust hebben op deze blauwe planeet, die we aarde noemen. Alle levende wezens zullen in harmonie leven met alle schepselen op deze blauwe planeet, die we aarde noemen, en het gehele heelal. Begeleidende principes van fysiek gedrag zijn van toepassing, totdat de zielen van de mensen hun werking en positie begrijpen binnen de grenzen van de universele principes. Je kunt scrollen. De ziel verdient het om alles te weten op verschillende niveaus van de beschepping. Alle levende zielen hebben de vrijheid en gelijkheid en uniekheid om hier op aarde en daarbuiten in vrede te leven en te gedijen. De zielen van alle mensen zullen de beste talenten, krachten en schoonheden naar buiten brengen om te delen en te laten bloeien in de gehele schepping. Neem de macht terug, de macht van de zielen, om alle levende wezens hier op aarde te besturen. De macht ligt niet bij leiders of entiteiten met als doel om anderen te controleren of te domineren, maar komt van binnenuit om te houden van en te geven vrede, liefde, gelukzaligheid en vrijheid aan anderen. Dank u. Deze aardse grondwet geeft de beste intentie voor vrede, liefde, vertrouwen en vrijheid van de zielen van alle levende wezens, met inbegrip van andere entiteiten in de gehele schepping. De grondwet moet alle wezens in staat stellen om het juiste te doen met het genoegen om te werken en om naast en met andere zielen te dienen om de schoonheid in de schepping te zien. Deze grondwet is flexibel en kan ten alle tijden worden aangepast, omdat bijvoorbeeld het gedrag van de mens voor vreedzame coexistentie, vredesverdragen tussen mens en mens, geen oorlogen en of enige vorm van agressie op deze planeet, die we aarde noemen, en contact met andere entiteiten uit verschillende delen van de universum noodzakelijk is. Dank u. De bijlage. Dit gedeelte is bedoeld voor toekomstige aanvullende amendementen waar nodig om de permanente vrede op deze blauwe planeet aarde en daarbuiten te handhaven. Dank u. Geschreven door de zielen van de mensheid van de blauwe planeet aarde, vertegenwoordigd door de leden van de Earth Council, Alex Egbaran, Parvis Rashwant, Mehran Keshe en Lisa MacDonald. Wayne Nguyen, Rodrigo Vildosola en de contactadressen van de e-mail van de Earth Council. Dank u.
Thank you very much, Caroline.
Thank you very much. We understood some of it, but it's just words. While Caroline was reading, I thought a very strange thoughts, but can we ask somebody from planet Zeus, from the space, to read the man's mandate? I think that'll come when we sign and write the Universal Council, because that's their job. As you know, those of you who are in Rome, we had a fun with this. Somebody got up and says, I'm from planet so and so. We should not be afraid that one day amongst us, those of us who are looking like us and live our way of life, say they are not who they are, and they show themselves in the way they are. They don't have a red tongues and they don't have any other color. We see them the way they manifest themselves in the dimension of that life, and we have to respect it. You're welcome. Was it nice? It's a nice English tea. No bad living there 30 years. I had to serve tea for Madame, getting exhausted for reading. Is there, or are there any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, Azar.
Okay, so I have a question. Everything has a soul. A virus has a soul too, yes?
A what?
A virus. Viruses have souls too.
Yes.
Okay, so
Virus, no, virus is a field.
so there is no soul in virus.
Because the virus is a field, it's an energy transfer. Whatever it attaches itself to, it has the soul of that. It's the least to the life, the least to the life of the entity.
It's like a maggrav.
It's like a maggrav, yes.
Okay, so
Maggrav, if you rather, maggrav has a soul. But in a way, the fields of it, if you can contain it and interact, they do. So viruses are usually mono-energetic. Or at least they have a combination of the energies of the amino acids which they attach themselves to, or what we call the functioning system. Because viruses are field flow, free field flows in the universe, that if they match yours, they attach themselves to it. They don't have their fields traveling in a way of packages. There is some misunderstanding in the existence of the viruses on this planet. We say such a virus has taken over and we have this virus flu, that virus, this and that. We have to understand how viruses replicate themselves. This has never been understood. When I explained this in one of the teachings, is like when you have a dry land and then it rains and then you see fishes out of nowhere. Never been a fish there, nothing at all, and they appear. It's a combination of energy transfer, maggrav system we see, and a condition created, it replicates itself. A lot of you who work in the maggrav system and a gas production, you must have seen this in your productions. So what it is, once a cell finds a balanced energy which is crossing or passing at given time, or it can repeat itself in a given condition, it attaches to itself and it replicates itself. We can transfer it or we can replicate it. In AIDS and that kind of condition, we transfer it. In the condition of the flu, we replicate it. It's the replication of it. Somebody has a flu, I get a flu. They don't give you the flu. Because you have some cells of the same balance of theirs, the energy transfer from one to another to bring transfer, it seeds the basis of the energy of the flu to you. We can show this in the future developments, that how energy, what we call viruses, transfer from one cell to another, from one person to another. If you have a matching near enough cell as somebody who is with you in a room with a flu, which carries a virus, in them matching each other, they balancing each other, they transfer energy across. And then you have the seed and then it grows. It replicates itself because then it matches with the others. That's why we can go in the room, 20 of us, 10 of us will never catch a flu and the other 10 drop, literally with the worst conditions. Because we don't have those matching fields which match that virus. That's why we don't all catch flu all together across the world in one go. Because even though we have a red blood cells, we have 2 arms and legs, nothing in us is the same. We have some common denominators, and if that common denominator comes into play, we transfer energy, or what we call viruses energy.
But Mr. Keshe, how they are created? Are they residual of some?
It's not created, it's just a condition of the field flow. If you allow a virus, give a virus a given condition that it can manifest itself to become an entity, like let's say a cell, then it has a life, then it creates a soul of itself. But it's a package of fields which that travel through. It exists just for us which one we want to transfer across. The viruses are the,
that is
let me
why
explain. As I've said in many of my teachings, viruses are the biggest menace to humanity in space. We die like flies in our first excursions, unless we understand depletion, retraction, or balancing of the energy, what we call a virus attached to the amino acid of body of the man. We will not die of suffocation, but will die surely of viruses. Yes, Azar.
so that's why we have to protect ourselves in the space of that. So we have to know how to deplete the energy once we notice them.
In a way, yes. In a way, we have developed systems for it. And secondly, if you reach such a position and you have managed to go in a level of understanding of the transfer of the physicality into the soul of the man, you just transfer the soul, the physicality through the boundary of the soul. The energy of any virus is below the level of the energy of the soul. It gets absorbed into it, becomes part of it, and it cannot change the soul. Such a minute, it's a filtering. One of the best ways you see in a space those who reach the level of understanding is to just literally take your physicality in the dimension of the internal soul. And as you go through the barriers, just start going through the, what you call it, entering the earth atmosphere, you see things burning, meteorites, transfer of energy from matter to light or whatever. You go through the same process. You can do. In the majority of cases, it try, because it has to follow, there's an energy balance flow, and the body and the soul knows what is created, what is extra, it comes out of it. The other ways to do it is just you continuously scan the body for energy transfers, which is the energy balance. In part of knowledge in the future, what man will learn is very much as you go on the scale and say I'm 100 kilo or 50 kilo or 90 kilo. We don't say how much is your liver and how much is your arm and how much is your leg. The totality has a fixed energy balance. And in the future, we'll measure our fixed energy balance of the total magnetic gravitational field, which has to be balanced to what goes out and what comes in through the boundary of the cell. And then we put ourselves through machines, and then we know where it is and what it is needs to be balanced. The future of space technology, understanding the totality of it, is a beautiful game to play and to live with. Dr. Rodriguez and medical people are touching on it. Sometimes I look at their work, or I just listen in the background. They see it, but they don't understand it, so they have ignored it. The people who work in the research center, I've given them a couple of ideas this week, what we need to see, what we have to see, and what we are looking for. In a way, replication of the energies and matters, and being able to extract one or add the other two.
Mr. Keshe, another thing I was going to ask is, if I create my outer surface of my body magnetical and inner side of my body gravitational, can I, if I hold a light bulb, can I light it up?
How are you going to do that?
I mean, if I can do that, because my
Of
liver
course
is
you can.
my liver is my capacitor. So my other
Yeah, you can dream anything with you as that is possible. But the reality is, if you want to create a dimension of light, you can do it very easily, and it's been done by many, many people in the past. If you can create a field, a sphere, within your hand that you can control it, and you can bring the field the strength of your soul or emotion to interact with this field which you have created in your hand. The friction will create lights. You can even dictate where you want to see the light, between your hand and your body, or if you can focus it the right way, inside your body or inside your hand. This knowledge is known by many people. Many people have practiced it. It's just understanding how to create an energy which you can control and hold on to as a package, and then increase what we call my wish or my soul to interact with it. And then you can see the light in the eye, you can see the light between your hand and the face, and you can see the light inside your hand. The further you go, the more you have you understood to absorb, to understand, to extend your soul that become beyond the physicality, barrier of physicality. Those who become very, very advanced in the space technology, through their emotion, they can place an emotion, and the interaction between emotion and the soul creates light. You don't need the physicality. But that's different school of teaching.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. This is Boniface.
Yes, sir. I haven't heard from you for a long time.
I've been around. I have a question. Back in November, when the Earth Council Constitution came out, you mentioned that the plan was to consolidate all the comments and suggestions and input that you were receiving, and that in
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you dropped off for a second.
And your voice is kind of low. Maybe you have to get closer to the microphone there, or adjust some sound setting. Go ahead.
Okay, let me start over there. November, after the Constitution came out, you mentioned the plan was the comments and suggestions and the input you were receiving about the Constitution, and they were going to be considered in December and January. All that will be published to keep from making changes, frequently. I haven't seen anything. The last I checked, there were no changes there.
We
So
haven't done it this year. We haven't done it this year. It will be done next year. We have seen your comment, and as far as I remember seeing your comments, unfortunately, I don't see any of them being valid to be put into the council mandate. But that's a decision of the council when it brings all these things. Because all these comments, when you put on the Earth Council, goes in there, and then we look at it at the end of the year. And this year, because it was just at the end of the year when we brought the Constitution up, it'll be done next year. I've seen your comments, and I've said it before. Most of the comments you made has no, I'm a member of the council, there's other 6 to pass comment on it when it comes, has validity to go on the Earth Council mandate. I read it because I was asked to read it, and to me, as one of the members of the council, don't forget to put the mandate on, it needs all 6 to agree. But then there is a deliberation has to be done, and explanation to be done, not come with single voting. There is no vote. If you attend any of the Earth Council meetings, it's one of the funniest and very, what do you call it, informal meetings. And when it comes to these things, I've read, I know what you're talking about, and I've mentioned it before. To me, when I read what you sent, is literally does not apply to the Earth Council at all in any shape or form, but that's my personal opinion. And by then you could have a new member of the Earth Council. I'm a temporary member.
Sorry, I temporarily muted Boniface because we had the feedback and echo there. I can unmute you. Go ahead again, Boniface. You have a response to that or anything to say?
Yeah, thanks for the feedback.
We are all free to write to the council.
Right.
And we should not expect to, just because we wrote it becomes. The council, even when it goes to Universal Council, it's looked at the overall, not just one point of view. I know a member of the council, because we mentioned that the constitution is not American, has failed, has decided to resign or whatever. It's okay, because this is why we choose member of the councils from different continents and languages, at least two, that these kind of prejudices disappear. And those of you who write to bring addition to the constitution, look at it not just on what you think, sit back and look what applies and implies to the others, even though you think it's good for everyone. This is what we discuss this quite a lot, sometimes in the background. In Africa, when you go to a funeral, you wear red and black, and red prominently. In China, when you go to wedding, you wear red. Now you tell me, how do you want me to make the flag of the Keshe Foundation? Put the Africans in funeral and the Chinese in celebration, or vice versa. Because you only see what applies, or most probably you think is right, but this is the beauty of the Earth Council in what I call the pleasure of speaking, being present. A lot of things are agreed or discussed and or listened to on the way of maturity of the soul. And a lot of us think because I sent or I told the member it has to be done, does not necessarily apply. It's a consensus for humanity.
Well, Mr. Keshno, you have said in the past that if you have something to say or to give, and you don't give or say it, you're stealing from your soul. And so, from my
Yes,
point of view, if I have
you have
something
to.
that I thought should be considered,
Yes,
then
it's
I
correct.
offer it. And
Don't
but you know, I
stop.
appreciate the input.
Don't stop writing. But when you write, look at the total, because there is something very, very instinctive in your writing. I can say. I think if you address this to Universal Council, some of it befits Universal Council mandate, but it doesn't fit into Earth Council mandate. This is, people will start gradually understand the difference. Earth Council is set for a mandate for humanity to be kept in balance, and to provide humanity with equal in respect to totality of residents, or what I call, you call it permit holders, to be here, from ants to birds to the trees and the man. And Universal Council has a totally different dimension into it. First of all, they cover individual part of this planet which are common in the same language, but they extend their strength beyond this planet. In the future, we will see more of their work and then we understand more. And anything to do with the structure, when you write to the Earth Council, has to be totally what is to do with running of this planet. It's the new government in governing in the order of the covenants of creation, and not in there to suit mankind only. It's for every dive in every dimension, being created here or reside here, to accept the condition of peace, and then the responsibility to accept. One of the major governments have signed themselves into this program in a very recent past. We explain very soon. We are on the track to deliver a lot of things, but it's what to do with here. Beyond what you written in some of your papers, your comments, does not apply to here. Not whatsoever. I don't see it. But as I said, I'm a temporary member fulfilling for European condition. I felt I've fitted it into it, and we're still looking for a member of European Council which fits in. Then we hand it over. I just took over for the time being, And then you never know, by next Christmas, next New Year, November, December, January, members look at it a different way. But everything will be looked at. The Earth Council members meet in a couple of hours. And we haven't even opened any of the comments. Because then we get every week put into this, what it is, what's come. It will be looked in one package at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Keshe, we have a couple of questions on the idea of unity. And Freed says, well, first of all, I'll say that Freed in the live stream after Caroline's speech there from the Dutch EC Constitution, he says he had tears in my eyes, so moving, a major step in the progress of humanity. Thank you. And previous to
I
that,
listened to the Persian one last week. I had the same feeling. And I'm sure the Arabic language had the same, and the French too.
Yes, right. Well,
this is why we chose the universal language, and this reading of the mandate, or what I call constitution of the Earth Council, but the members of the Universal Council especially, reaches the soul of the totality of the same language. And it's beautiful. We listen to it. Have you seen anybody coming and arguing you can't read it? Because we all respect each other.
Exactly.
Listen
So
to it, enjoy it, and if I read it in Arabic, I'm sure the Arab speaking were crying the same as I did and you did when you listen to it. Because it touches our soul. It's the language, the mother which we touched us.
Exactly. Well, he had a question just before he had that statement, and the question is, one key to understanding plasma is that we are all one. What are the consequences of unity? Could Mr. and Mrs. Keshe elaborate on this? This could allow a lot of collaboration and co-creation.
The unity is when we come in and we put others' wishes ahead of ours. Not a submission, but knowing that they respect the same our wishes to be theirs. This is not following blind, or I was saying Farsi Taro for the your yes, yes, and then me says, oh my God, couldn't do it. We do it because we value the same energy, we value the same progress. And that's the main thing. At the moment, I explained this to the management team, we have a condition in the background with somebody who has been around Keshe Foundation with rape, adultery, and well, not adultery, but that's part of it too, child abuse and the rest of it. And we are collaborating with the police very closely. When this comes into public, like Alan Sterling, would it damage because he was with the foundation for a few weeks? Or is it he was planted in the foundation to do damage? Or was it there they came to see if they can fish something out? And then is that the value of all the members of the Keshe? So was there to do deliberate damage? It's a respect we have. And we have to understand that a lot of people don't understand this balance. This situation with this person is recorded, and it's literally everything is recorded. There is no denying on it. It depends how the police of the nation and Interpol decide to handle it. But as we help, or we gave information to Interpol regarding studying Alan and the others which already been in the position, they've done whatever they do with them, Should we have stayed quiet just because this person was close or somebody in the foundation? The protection of humanity goes above the name of the foundation. So I respect you and your child and the society. Does not matter what was within the structure of people around the foundation. And secondly, we are not all sacrosanct. We are all humans. We make mistakes and through it we grow. But I respect the integrity of the what I call the Keshe Foundation followers. And as a head of the Keshe Foundation, I have to take the good and the bad and the evil and the joy together. And it's got to be the same with all of us. Respecting the wishes of the others. And to me, this condition will come into front very soon. We are working very closely with the authorities, but there's a lot of things to be done. If you remember when we opened the hand of the Alan Sterling, it took about a year for the police before they moved in. And we just doing things around with it. So I could have easily, sorry Rick, I could have easily covered everything up and let it go and maybe it will come up. But this is not my behavior because it has to be there. I respected you as totality and the foundation more than my name and what might do, but in a way it's good. It's an example for future of us respecting the others first. You as a society, you as a followers of the foundation were more important than trying just to do something else.
Mr. Keshe, that's a perfect segue, as they call it, into Maria's question, which was the second part of this idea of that we are all one. She says, good morning. If we are all one, how are what she calls cyber creatures, bio-robots, and shapeshifters that hate humans to be classified? Thank you, Maria.
Do we know they hate humans or do we bother them if they exist? We made a lot of things that don't exist. And if you think we were so clever to make robots and now our Japanese friends are becoming very good at it, you think the other creatures who have more advanced or got there before we did millions of years ago, they didn't make robots or condition of robots or imagination of the robot? Something you can replicate and do better than they do or do the things they can't do, they must have done so as well. So if they send the robots, doesn't mean it's them, they just send somebody to poke around. The car which went into space a couple of days ago, does it replicate the human or is it just something made by human? Even though there's a recording in it and it sings a record, is David Bowie the voice of human race? Every one of us, just because it sings in there.
The aliens might think that humans are car-shaped and very non-responsive.
And they do a lot of beep beep. I wonder if its horn can blow in the space. And what noise does it make?
The noises being made, or what's being played on the stereo system of the car, actually, is a David Bowie song, I think, a Space Oddity or something like that. And the question is, if the song is playing, is anything heard in space? We talked about hydrogen's atoms all being connected. Well, some of them are kind of bouncing around in this vibration field of the stereo system. Actually, the whole car will probably be shaking because it's an advanced stereo system. That's pretty good. And there's a lot of battery power. Well, that's the thing. Normally, like there's the joke about Star Wars where you hear boom, boom, boom from the weapons being shot, and then bang, and you hear all these sounds in space, and they joke, well, you wouldn't normally hear those sounds in space because there's no air to transfer the sound, so therefore you wouldn't hear anything. But
now you can imagine
there's others that say that even if you say a prayer with intention that goes through space, that actual sound wave will travel through space at forever, basically. So I don't know.
We got one of these going quite a few decades now. If you remember the disc with the voice of the United Nations and human figure and everything on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's already past the solar system. I don't know. I never tracked it again. Has it gone through? Has it gone past solar system?
I'm not sure. That's right. Was it the heliosphere? I think they call it, of the sun. It's supposed to go beyond the solar system, that Coulomb barrier of the solar system. It's like a big unknown. It's a
Well,
they were supposed to go through that last year, I thought.
it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's supposed to be in an orbit around the sun, like the planets are, but it's just more elliptical.
No, I mean we're talking about the satellite that they sent
The one
off.
who's running away.
Voyager, I think it was called.
Yeah, I think they did. I read an article where they described that it passed out the heliosphere, and it was in interstellar space.
Right.
Did it burn out going out, or has it burned in, coming in, back in? Is it reflected back in?
Well, it's the radio signals the signals have gotten kind of strange, so they're not clear whether it's actually made it through the barrier or if the barriers kind of takes a bit of time to get through and so on. Maybe someone else has more recent information on that, but I remember that from sometime last year. Whereas Elon Musk's car that's been launched yesterday into space is going out somewhere to the asteroid belt in the next little while, apparently, and it's on a heliocentric orbit, which makes it go around the sun, occasionally getting close to the Earth and occasionally getting close to Mars, depending on orbits and so on, the timing.
What about when he loses his gravity and hits us back? It'll be a big car crash, won't it?
Well, it's got a windshield. Yeah, that's a good question. It lands on
I wonder he took a good insurance for a car crash. And I hope the insurance company, by the time it comes back.
It's got a crash test dummy there. I hope it has insurance.
Oh, that test dummy, when you were telling it on Thursday and Tuesday, made me really laugh. Oh, I can say that some of our Dutch guys, today was a Dutch reading, they know what I'm talking about. A few years ago, the Dutch government decided to make it a speed fast lane for anybody who were more than 2 people in the car, in the front seat, that they could encourage car sharing, that there were so many cars going with the single drivers. So they made this lane that you had to be at least 2 people in it. And as you know, Dutch are very clever, genius with these things. They all bought these blow-up dummies and they put it on the passenger seat. And then suddenly one of the most favorite one, because he was very tall, was the American president. If you remember, Ronald Reagan was a favorite blow-up job on the seat, on the passenger side. And then they start looking at it, how they were tricked. So I hope he hasn't put one of them in there.
Well,
no fast track in this space.
Don't know what the crash test dummy looks like, whether it's male, female, or neutral.
Neutral. Any other question?
Good day.
It's good not to teach, huh?
There's several people here with their hands up. Jalal was one.
Good day, Mr. Keshe.
Hi, Jalal.
Mr. Keshe, I have 2 questions. One, is the imagination, it's imagination, or it is a storage of fields from whole universe we are picking up from it?
Depends what you're imagining, isn't it? I don't think there is a blonde blue eye in the space, so they can't imagine.
So it is only interaction between the fields and the information
of the man's mental condition here.
Okay. Next question. We need to shake some chairs here. From your knowledge, you are seeing the path of Earth by the plasmatic way. is
Said,
still.
are you in my head? Caroline says, what do you think in my place?
I know you, sir. we are already connected, sir. In 2015-14, you speak about what's going to happen to Earth. Is that still in the same path?
We are. It doesn't change. It does not change. Nothing changes. One of the things which I explained about the separation, the ratio of the increase in the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth was so much that it indicated a breakup. And the breakup is going through in any shape or form. And the breakup is not that you start and the whole thing happens with a clash. No, it's a huge magnetic field flow of magma. And it takes millions of years for it to settle down, the ring of fire, once the American continent separates. We see it is happening now. We see more and more of it. The geologists and people who are expert have an estimate running now in Tehran. We got, I think, between 2 and 7 weeks, according to the seismological data, that it could be a massive earthquake in Tehran or north of Iran. These are all the data they put. If that input, if that such a thing happens, because we see huge number of earthquakes around Iran, which is normal this time of the year, but not in around Tehran. This is a recent time in Tehran, we haven't seen so much earthquakes continuously. Then one of the pins for the South American continent to move will move. And then in 3 to 5 years, we'll see a huge earthquakes as we estimated to go. But you got to understand, we see the plasma flow, and matter state of the plasma dictates some of the conditions. There has been a massive change in the direction of the field flow from planet Earth due to Fukushima. These radioactive conditions, as much as they enter the liquid water, have entered or absorbed, create a condition in the atmospheric and within the internal magma of the planet too. But you can't blame all of it on it, or say this is condition. Maybe it's delayed, maybe it's fastened, but it's inevitable. The way Australia has separated, the way we've seen major islands have separated, England from Europe has separated. This is the end position, and it will happen. And it's not happening tomorrow and suddenly you find the South American continent in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. You find it in the position of Australia in 1 million, 2 million years time. But the final Shakespearean separation is in progress. And then what is the strangest thing is we could see higher earthquake in the coming time once the two continents fully separate on the matter level. Because now the whole of ring of fire has to contract. That brings another set of earthquakes with itself till it settles. You know, it's like a spring, you pull it and then when you release it, it has to go back to its shape and it goes bouncing, it doesn't just go and stay in one position.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple of other people with their hands up. We have Rui. If you want to, do you have a question, Rui?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Keshe. Are you listening well?
Yes, hello, Mr. Ray, how are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm UC member for Portuguese language. So my question comes from the hazard one about the virus and the space. It's more than one question, but you already answered part of it. What's the best way we defend ourselves to the virus, not only in the space, but this kind of energy? It's not a pack, but it's there somehow. But when we go into space, we, for instance, if I be in the moon of Saturn or Jupiter, all the fields, magnetic and gravitational fields, they change my fields I'm not used to, and I know they do. So how I balance myself, because that is a threat, as you say, many of us will die like a flies when we go there by virus because of, I believe, this change on my fields. So how you can do it to protect or to deal with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, if you want me to ask that question, can you tell me why every time you go to Lisbon, you fall asleep and miss a flight?
Anytime I go to Lisbon, I fall asleep in the flight. It's a good
No, it
question.
happens to me.
I'm always, yeah.
Yeah, always in Lisbon.
I live in Lisbon, yeah, because it's a peaceful place, and where all the elements are strong here, in the kind of balance that maybe you are not used. So maybe it's that I'm used to. So I'm traveling all the time, as you know.
That's the that's the wireless of Lisbon. You're good too. But when I go there, something happens wrong. Last time, at the time before, we had something else. The last time, I missed a plane. I had to wait till next day. I said, every time I come to Lisbon, something happens. So I don't take the Tapo airline to Accra anymore. I go different way. So you have to do the same in what do you call it? The structure of we decide a lot of this is a repetition till we understand the process. Wherever we don't feel safe in a space, we have to understand we have the beauty of the soul of the man. Wherever we go to a pharmaceutical, we take a medicine for this infection or that infection or whatever, the soul of the man is a balancer because he knows what physicality is created. If internally we change, he accepts. If externally added, it absorbs to create the balanced position. This is why when you put a maggrav system on a cancer tissue, it takes the cancer out but it doesn't take the tissue out. When our doctors do, I see some marvelous works with our scientists coming in, the doctors are coming in. There is not a day I get beautiful news from medical side. And then I many times ask myself why these medical people don't see that they put the same gas in the same place. It moves the cancer, but it doesn't move the heart or liver or part of the kidney which has a cancer. Is the process the same with the soul of the man? What it doesn't belong to what is created, it takes that it stays perfect. So in a space, we have this refuge, we have this knowledge, we have this beauty of the soul of the man that we can go within to protect ourselves from what could be the danger out. And whatever we take in with us, it's like a scanning machine at a certain time. Voila, it's out. Then we know it's not a place for us to be. Or we decide through the emotion, I need 20 legs to be on this planet. 2 legs, I think 10, 20, I can balance the weight on the surface. Then it means I need 20 legs on this planet. 2 is too much pressure, you sink. With 10, you spread the load. Then you say in this planet everybody has 20, so yeah, because the surface is soft, but just about enough with 20 spread out the load. The soul of the man, the more we understand the work of it, it becomes for us what we denied. And this is the beauty of it. It's many times I shiver in how man has lost the trust in the existence that he lives with it 24 hours a day. And he knows it takes over when the physicality stops. Where does your dream come from? Why do you call it a dream when it's the interaction of your soul with the others and the interaction of it manifests to your emotional level, manifestation of the mother, the father, the stranger, something happened. And everything is not an accident, but I've got to learn from it. Do you cross the road? Somebody has a crash, somebody's wearing a red jacket, somebody's on the bike, what's got to do with you? But you're witness to it. Why do we try to interpret every dream we have, but we don't look at it as a travel of the soul at the time when the physicality is not working? And why do we see ourselves in a physical condition in the soul dimension? Because in fact, the soul of the physicality always travels with the soul as it goes. So in manifestation, we see ourselves in it. Why man is frightened of himself, I don't understand. And then he calls it the dream. We have given it every name except me. As it encompasses me, I encompass him. I protect him when it's in the physical matter. When it comes to the other matter, it protects me. We are happy with one end, but the other end we don't want to understand the expansion of. Those of you who go and understand part of my teaching, I let it go because it means you're not ready for it. But I give you a touch, someone of you might understand. If you understand the soul of physicality and go back to the teaching, go back to the medical teaching we did in the medical part, that the skin of a man is part of the brain of the man. So is the lung of the man. So if your brain is connected to your lung, to your skin, and the soul is protected within the brain of the man, what problem do you have to extend that in part to the skin of the man, that you can extend your soul through your own skin, the soul of the physicality? Then it can expand as one direction is open. We need a lot to understand, but the man is not ready for it. If I open the beauty of the creation onto man, I become like the guy who said the earth is round, and they put him on the rope. You have every means in the hand of the man to allow the soul of the man to pass, to encircle the physicality of the man. But the fear of, can I get it back, the bird back in the cage, has created man the condition of the belief of gods. I received something very nice from Azhar during the week. It's a Persian poetry, but it's so beautiful. It's about God. And the way this poet, Persian poet, in a beautiful poetry explains, he said they wanted to marry 40 wives and 4 wives, they made it in my name. They wanted to have a woman called Mary, it's my blame, I have a wife. It's very nice in poetry. We blamed, they abused us, and we accepted everything because we have no trust. Not a trust, we don't understand the creation of ourselves. If in the teaching, Dr. Kostova, where he explains scientifically how brain is part of the skin, and then we speak about the soul of physicality in the teaching, always refer to the emotion which carries that soul between the emotion is the intermediary between the two, the soul of the man, the soul of physicality. Then if you know this, how come you don't invite, you don't create a condition for the soul of the man to extend itself to the soul of physicality, which is made and connected to each other? What is the problem? Except prejudice of fear of a man, of his own existence and nothing else. Why do you put your hand together and you can make a ball and then interact it? Because it's part of the soul of the physicality, which is connected to the soul of the man through the emotion of the physicality. And we ignore it and we deny it. We go to a point and then we get frightened, we come back. What does it say in the Holy Book? Why did I dream and this dream was this? Because we manifest ourselves in the dimension of the soul, internally ourselves with manifestation of our physicality. We know it's us who's walking. That soul has a dimension of physicality, it's my mother. But it's the soul of the mother, not the mother, is it? But it goes back to a point that when the body separates from the physicality, does the soul of physicality takes home permanently within the structure of the soul of the man itself? Do we see the physicality of the mother in the dimension of the soul of physicality which is transferred inside? It says, beam me up, Scotty, huh? Just take me there. I go within and I see, when I see the mother, because it's at the soul level, you enter, here is no barrier. You see the physicality of mother in the dimension of the soul of the physicality. And then it brings another question. So all these things we see in our dreams has a reality to it, that they are the souls of the others which are within. And now because we are at the soul level, we only see the soul of physicality. The answer is yes. Go back to the teaching last week, I explained that. The soul of physicality has to make the separation, that those which are the strength of the soul of the man, which are still of the strength of the physicality, move to the soul, ready for separation. Those are of the strength of the matter state, stay behind. Voila, I'm a piece of meat and some bones and some nails and hair, which has got still the soul, but the soul of the matter state, not the soul of the dimension of freedom of the physicality. If I teach you the knowledge of the universe, you all commit suicide to be there. But at the same time, you don't have the right. You have to nourish the soul, that the soul enters the realm of creation and the creator. By laws of universe, suicide is forbidden, because it doesn't allow the maturity of the soul to its full potential, and nothing else. Even suffering in the dimension of physicality matures the soul of the man to be at that level when he enters the dimension of the creation in the universe.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. So you mean the balance is for the soul of physicality, that it's in the space, it becomes with the connection with the soul of the man, right?
In so many ways, yeah, you decide. You have to gain confidence, try to practice and see what happens. Don't do what the guy used to do in the teaching room in Barletta, huh? Push with the eyes, why the cup doesn't move? Did you ask the soul of the cup, give me the pleasure, I'll give you my pleasure of enjoying you moving yourself.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. These are part of the things we have to learn to gain confidence in ourselves, and then there'll be no priests and no imams and no churches and temples and what you call muftis and the rest to rub our soul and our physicality. There is something as part of the work of the Keshe Foundation. We are working on a very, very, we are more or less there, is completed. It's just, as they say, crossing a few T's and putting some dots on the I. As part of the universal government, as one government looking after all the citizens of this planet as a human race, and then with it goes the animals. I'm setting a structure up that in this structure, every human being has a value of 1,000 points or 1,000 shares. And every man will get the same from the outcome of the Keshe Foundation operation, or whatever, be it the benefit of the soul, be it benefit of the physicality, or whatever profit of the operations. And then we leave it to those who do not need, and they think they have over 1,000 they don't need. That 1,000 shares value of the use goes to those who need to be evaluated, to be elevated. Which means we get away with the monetary system of today. But we are using the present structure in a stock exchange to create that 1,000 shares per person on this planet. Which means I can give the same to the man in Amazon that I can get to the poor man in Vietnam, that I can give the same to the poor man in Washington, New York, or Moscow, or Beijing. minimum balance out of the collection of it. This is not communism. This is bringing everything into the level that comfort, availability of the comfort, in understanding of the knowledge becomes available to all. What we are setting up as one nation is to look after the soul of the man. That in teaching and promoting and in a way allowing the man to understand the operation of his soul allows equality in all levels of the creation, even being in the physical level of humanity on this planet. You will hear very soon stock market share we release at 1,000 shares or whatever per person on this planet, with the openness that as the population increases we can increase it, and then with the trust in the man that the guy doesn't come and take his my share, but if you take over 1,000, if he brings the balance, when you set up a national government as one governing body, your scale changes, but the need does not change. But with the new knowledge, we understand we don't need to create a heat or whatever. We can create an understanding of the soul. Temporarily, maybe have to create stations for the food or whatever. But once we teach the soul of the man, all the man will do this. I like to live in Amazon, I live in Amazon, but I have the same comfort of the physicality which I need in Amazon. And this is what we call the level of expectation for survival. Then when you have what you need, you don't kill other animals. Then this man, the Amazon, respects life the way they have done, and we don't see it. We have to take one thing into account: the elevation of the soul of the man on every dimension. And then understanding we are equal. When I have a jacket at home, I don't need to put two on top just because there is a jacket. We've seen this misconduct very recently. It's amazing. If you go to, you can go to some restaurants, you can go to some whatever eating places, and if you have the observation we have, you can tell who is from ex-communist countries, who is from Western Europe, who is from America, who is from Asia, who is from China, who is from anywhere. But just the food they order, and the food they eat, and the way they are served. Take the color of skin and put in the shadow, you can tell. And then, do we need to do this? In Europe, we go to a restaurant, we order what we need and we finish the plate. That's it, that's all I ordered. You go with the Russians, they take as much as they can from the self-service and they leave 2/3 of it on the table. Because we never had, now we have, sure we have gaps so much. You go with the Chinese, Chinese do it different way. Chinese order so much that you can eat as much as you like, but I have enough to serve my guest. Another wastage. You go with the Africans, totally different ball game. Enough to eat is enough. You don't see any waste. And you go with the Dutch. They always ask for a doggy bag. I take everything home, even the plates is mine. It has to become to a point that I take what I need and I don't order much. The Europeans don't order much, not because they are polite, because they can't afford it. They watch their money all the time. Do you know what they say about the Dutch? Today was a Dutch language, we can tease them a little bit. When they go on holiday, they take all the tin food from Aldi and Lidl down to south of Spain. But they don't think, oh, there is an Aldi in south of Spain, the same cost. This is how human race has to become. That there is a shop for every man across this planet, the same comfort. Then this stops the conflict, this stops the war. And this is part of the work we are doing. Soon you'll understand. And the the shares of the Keshe Foundation global operation will be in stock exchange in a very short time. The structure is set, everything is in the process of finalization, and we allow everyone to be part of. If it's beneficial, you make profit out of it, is yours. But at the end of the day, we are looking at every man say, I want to cash in my 1,000 share every month that I cannot live hungry, and we respect to do it. Just 1 second, please. Sorry about that. This is what the operation is. As the head of Keshe Foundation, what we set up as a management team of the Keshe Foundation, as everything else, we have to look after everything, and it needs to be this time around in a correct way. Blind to color, race, position, and as one race, one planet, one nation. This is part of the structure which we are working in the background to come up, and we can deliver it. It's not a years away, it's days away. I'm working more or less round the clock to make sure every commitment we made is done this time the right way, that we can meet every need of the man, irrespective of position, place, color, race, education, and wealth. We don't promise it's going to be honey and whatever, but we promise that we teach the soul of the man that it can meet the need of the man. If the man in Amazon wants to go to the Mars or to universe through his soul, has the same education, at the same time does not go hungry in his place. I am master of my game, but I'm a very good clown. The game of master, I know how to play the game to reach what humanity needs to reach. Those of you who will buy the shares in the coming Keshe Foundation launch that I make a profit, please do not. If you buy it, that I share my wealth with the rest of the world, that elevates them, that it creates a condition that can be done, that they become like me, you're allowed to. We are launching one of the biggest corporations ever in the history of man, on the back of the science and knowledge and technology. And we have powerful friends who support it.
Mr. Keshe, there was a question about that regarding, will there be a what's called an IPO? I think that's the initial public offering prior to open trading to the public. Like, will this be on a stock exchange where it's
on a stock exchange? We don't release anything about it any further. We have had discussions and meetings about it even in past 24 hours. It's all getting done. We don't announce anything anywhere. And in so many ways, it'll be released in one way or another. We have people and Keshe Foundation internal management have been working on this over a year now. And The seed of it was set months and months ago. The payments for it started months ago, and it's just going through its final phase. We leave it totally in the hand of the people who understand, and I had a meeting with him in past 24 hours to finalize the last bit, the way we want to do it. Our management team are fully aware of the motion and what is happening, but it'll be one of the largest shareholding offering corporation valuation. Keshe Foundation technology worth trillions. It's not that the maglev systems, when we show what the maglev system does, the whole of oil industry crashes. So we have reached consensus how and where and which way to go, and we'll do our work. It's a lot of work is getting done. The Keshe Foundation management team, more or less, the manufacturing team, the design team, and the others haven't stopped working. We wake up, even I think half of us even in dreams solve half of the problem which needs to be done. It's a 24-hour job, and we, all of us live across this planet. We are not positioned in one place or the other. Every 6 continents has a representative, works in one direction, in one thing or another. And the management team of Keshe Foundation across, I think a lot of them have been on more planes in the past times than anywhere else, and even the people who work around with us. We are covering a lot, and it needs to be done. There is no, it's going to be the end of the doomsday. It's going to be a beginning of a new life. And it has to be ready that when the sun shines on all of us. We have experts in everything we do. We brought the best we knew, but all those who are around us are understand the ethos of the foundation, understand the work of the foundation, understand the way we do things, and are planning and structuring everything around the same way. Any other question?
I'd like to get the question in from Elizabeth, who has been patiently waiting.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. When you were talking about the viruses and they find similar or matching
Pardon?
cells.
Can you repeat again, please?
Certainly. Earlier when you were talking about the viruses, I
Yeah.
was wondering if I seem to notice that when people believe that they will catch the flu from someone else, they do. Is that belief enough to create a matching energy to invite the flu cell in to our cells?
I don't understand. Can you repeat, please?
Sure. When we have a belief that we will catch the flu, does that create enough of a matching field to therefore catch that flu? Like I know some people that
Yes, in a way. It's like the way you wish to have a breast cancer, you get a breast cancer because you don't want to have a repetition of the pain of what your mother brought you through to a child.
Okay, that's
It's a short term, short fuse, yes. Done. In a way, yes. Caroline is brilliant at this thing. It's one of the pleasures of living with this woman. I call her this woman because I don't know, sometimes she's different things, but sometimes she's an angel. She carries an amazing thing with her all the time. It's called oil of lavender. The minute we get any sign of flu, cold, a little bit on the nose, a little bit on the gum, and the thing disappears. You could be dying of it. Within seconds, it's not there. And you know, she's a dictionary of herbs and oils and things. We just go, what do we need for this? Even the children suffer somewhere at home. Go, Mom, what do I need for this? Go there and get this and do this and that. And she found a balance in the world of herbs, in the quality of the man, in the balance of the physicality of the man. And you do, if you get it, that's how you handle it. But does it mean that, I was thinking about it a couple of days ago, because as I said, we are very busy with this, what we call transaction into international market. And one of our colleagues who arrived, there's a very, very, very bad flu cold. And I said, Caroline, he's arrived with a very bad flu. We are going to get. She walks in with this bottle of lavender. Says, a little bit on your nose, a little on your gum. And the guy never complained about anything. And I thought about it. Does lavender carry the strength of the soul of balance of the man? That reaches every one of us, or most of us? Or is it a germ killer? But it's a virus, so it's a field level. It's us, we wish for it, and it's that which changes it for it. And is it the beauty of it? I don't know how many of you have ever seen massive fields of lavender when it's in a full bloom. It's one of the most beautiful sights you can ever imagine. So much wealth, so much coming from one tree, one plant, one creature.
It definitely works, and it's magic.
But it also, the belief that you're going to catch that flu.
Does lavender passes your belief?
Exactly.
Then
Okay.
you don't have it.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Do you understand?
Yes.
It's a virus, but it's fields. Or does the lavender enriches the bacteria or the cell amino acid that there is no home for the uh, virus to take hold of? Or do we destroy certain levels that is of the strength of the virus? It'll be fantastic to know what this does. I enjoyed, we had the pleasure, this I always say when we see beautiful things like this, your soul loves you so much that it allows you to see the beauty of creation. A few years ago we were driving down to central France, and we had this pleasure of seeing these huge fields of lavender. The pleasure of looking at it kills any virus, God knows, using it.
Mr. Keshe, I have 120 of the essential oil, and then even for coffee, you don't need to take coffee. You can take peppermint. Every time you get tired, you take peppermint under your nose, and it's beautiful. And
I have a water which does this. If I tell you, you all make it tomorrow, and then the pharmaceutical goes bankrupt.
yeah, but this essential oil is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, but you have an essential oil in one of the ganses.
Which one?
Mm-hmm.
We need the secret.
No, it's not secret. You can make a mistake with it too. One of the essential things to understand, and in many teachings I teach, but it's not heard, is the balance field common denominator in the life of the man. And nobody listens. That in a space, in a time of need, is your salvation, is your rescue, is what you need. Even satisfies hunger, even brings heat in the body of the man, that you don't feel cold. Let alone germs and viruses. You know how to use it. You can see, I can take a picture of you 1 second with tumors from top to toe, next second, total clarity. But don't forget what I told you. I will never show a magic. You have to understand it with you. one of the gases which is made has that effect. And it feeds you, it warms you, shelters you, protects you, and disinfects you, and whatever you like it does for you.
Can I dare to guess which one? Is it
Oh, we can guess as much as you like.
the GANs of gold, monatomic gold?
No. Last, I have a guy I love so much. Let me see if he's there. Let me see him. This guy is it's a pleasure to have him around. When he's around, drives me crazy, but in a way, I do the same to him. Let me see if he's there, and I'll tell you what he can tell you. He was earlier on here. No, he's gone. He's not in, but I saw him earlier, I think. Alex was with us last summer with me and Benjamin in Accra, and he came from the hospital, being there for a couple of weeks or so, 2 or 3 weeks with malaria and all the things which, other things which goes with it. I gave him something last July, and he's been having these malaria attacks every month. We had a problem with him all the time. We couldn't get him out of Nigeria. And he was forever sick, and since he's gone to Nigeria, he was always sick with it. I gave him this in a hidden packs of some other things, and up to today, except he got beaten up for his credit card, he has not seen the hospital, never had a single malaria attack, and he's gone. It was a gift for his service to humanity.
Well, I'm sure we'll all be trying to figure out which one it is. Thank you so much, Mr.
Ah.
It is in the teaching 2015, November.
Oh,
I don't know what I had for lunch, let alone November 15th, 2015.
Let them go there and seek for it.
Or don't send people to places they don't know and you're not sure. And there is this that we carry, we cover. When you are with bunch of Keshe Foundation team, the life has different meaning dimensions, and somehow thing changes. There are 3 or 4 people around the foundation. When we spend time around with each other, it's very much days and God knows day and night, so time passes very fast. One is Ahmed, one is Alex, one is Benjamin. It's amazing how when we come together in different parts of the world or for different occasions, things don't take shape. They are pure souls, and they you see the shining of the soul. You don't need to look for it, because it doesn't matter what physicality brings, they are there to change the course of humanity through the dimension of their souls. And it's amazing. I had this experience with Arman and Alex a few weeks ago in Rome. We were there for a meeting of the Keshe Foundation team. And then I had a meeting with Alex and Benjamin in Accra a few weeks later. And it feels the same. You're home. The soul is the same and it shines the same. And it's like you don't need to give a medicine or a tablet or a water. You give from the soul of the man, but you have to understand the strength of your soul. and they shine. When you see the not the physicality of these guys is amazing. We have another person like this, a woman amongst us, which is you see a star growing and shines, and the Keshe Foundation team and running of the top levels now more or less is tilting towards women, and all of them have a beautiful soul. That's why they take these kind of positions. And then you reach them through their soul, and then that's what I said is a common denominator to all. And that's the problem with you. We all know which gans it is. Let's count which teaching. It sits within the soul of the man. Does not need a gans, does not need anything else. And people who you're so close to understanding of their soul, they become close people with you, and somehow you always feed from each other and learn from each other and support each other, but it's mainly through the soul. It's just after we don't see each other for a few weeks, it's just like something is missing, energy is not balanced. And it's a very beautiful position to be. You have the head of the Keshe Foundation, Ella, is of the same. You have the head of the manufacturing of the Keshe Foundation, Jamila, beautiful souls who are sit there. We have the head of the Keshe Foundation China, Ruti, unconditional serving of humanity, which is the clarity of the soul. This is what, then we don't need to look for a gans in which teaching. The only thing is you missed the teaching, you missed the teaching of last week. It was in there. Any other question?
May I ask one more question?
Please.
Um,
The more you get, you ask questions, the less opportunity you give to others to ask questions.
Avazar's questions. um, I think I heard you say suffering creates the maturity of the physicality so that we can enter the soul. So could I correlate that to you
This,
sorry, go ahead.
let me correct this. It's a phrase from Chinese. As you know, I love a lot of things in Persian language and culture, and the same in English and Chinese is something which has been home to me for years. And it's a say in Chinese, say the suffering makes you wise, the wisdom makes you rich, and the richness makes you happy. And that does apply, that literally applies to the physicality of the man, but through it, it elevates the soul of the man to receive. That with it, it can give.
So the next part to that was, so could we think of suffering like caustic soda?
No.
Okay.
Never suffer. When you suffer, it means you have not matured. A man should not suffer. Life has to be a pleasure.
Can you use those sufferings you've experienced, though, to bring the wisdom?
Would man with what we have brought ever suffer again?
No.
And would that mean that he'll never be wise? Or would he need... This suffering comes from the path of religion, the abuse. Suffering is when you put your physicality into abuse. Why should you? Why don't you build on the pleasure positive?
Perfect, okay.
You understand? This is what I say, you know, in our household, we travel the, what do you call, the length of breadth of this planet. And Carol and I, with the connections and the life we live. In our home, we cook, I think, what, 10, 15 different nationalities. And We enjoy every one of them, and sometimes we mix them together because it's a pleasure. Many of you who've been on private teachings, you know, we invite you on the dining table while we cook different things. And this is like the vocabulary of life. The more we travel, the more pleasures we carry, the more we have the pleasures to be able to share. The food of life has to be the food of the soul of the man. But the same way, do you burn yourself to enjoy the food you made? Or do you
No.
do it yourself? So why do you have to suffer? Suffering came with the ones who wanted to abuse. We see what the suffering has led to in capitalism. You let the soul of the man who's made to make their life, as Baha'u'llah said, I've made thee to make children that they may love me. And you deprive a man from having children, which is the pleasures of the life, and then you see the abuse what brings with the suffering of the soul. Child abuse, sexual abuse, and everything else. And as people say in Austria, there are two versions of believing in the same God of Christianity, and they say the priest from this side has one wife because they can marry, and the priest from the Catholic Church has all the wives of the village as wife, and is adulterous to Allah, make all of them adulterous because of his misconduct, the way he's been forced, because his soul, his physicality suffers, it brings it to the others. There is no need for suffering. That word, in so many ways, has to be eliminated from vocabulary of the soul, of physicality of the man. When you put your hand on fire and you see burns, do you keep it there or you remove it? Or you know if you touch the fire, it burns and hurts you. Why do you do that with your soul and your physicality? Find a beauty in suffering, or you call it suffering, and rejoice that beauty, then you don't suffer, because then it's so beautiful that the pain does not exist. Many times people who they come to me for certain problems, I always say to them, take, not all suffering, take one point which must have been a point of comfort or pleasure or something at that point there was no suffering, and rejoice that and let the rest go. And tell yourself it wasn't my fault. And when they understand it and they do it, they walk away with a beautiful life. There should be no such. Suffering doesn't exist in the universe. Why have we created except those who want to abuse us? And it's because we sign into it and we believe in it, we accept it and we let it happen.
I celebrate this information. Thank you.
Shall we call it a day? How far are we in our teachings? What's the time, please?
It's right about the 3-hour mark here.
Any other question? We are setting up for humanity to rejoice that they exist on this planet and in the universe by bringing a condition that it rejoices to be alive, to enjoy this planet, not to suffer because of this planet. Accidents always happen. And even sometimes accidents can be made fun out of and enjoyable.
Mr. Keshe, I was thinking.
Is that your third question or the first question?
That's not a question, because I was thinking about suffering. Because suffering, what do you? Because everything has a definition. Because we define what the suffering is. I was thinking the other day, if
you're making Rick laughing in the background. I can
Well,
hear it.
it's only because it's your birthday that you get to have the extra question today. It's actually
Can somebody check Aza's birth certificate? Is it her birthday? Or is there news of a birthday?
Saying it's not a question, but I know there's going to be a question coming here somewhere.
No, it's not a question. What I was, because if you want to define suffering, it's how do you define it? Because I was thinking the other day about the.
Was that just a question? Didn't just say, how do you define it? Isn't that what you just said?
No, I just said.
Okay, rephrase your statement there again.
No, let me
Just get
continue.
it correct.
Let me
Yeah.
continue. Then you understand. Because you see, how do you define suffering? For example, the other day I was thinking about the soul. Like the soul has the emotion and then the structure. The physicality has the emotion, structure, and all that, and feelings, because soul has feelings too. Then I was thinking, if my parents had made a copy of me, put one of my copies, say, in the Amazon jungle, and one the way I was grew up to this point, and I went and I made my copy, and we sat down and talked about the feeling of our soul and the feeling and emotion of our physicality. Probably we had two different emotion in terms of our physicality, because we lived in two different environments. Because our physicality is emotion and feeling, it comes from where we raised and how we were. But the soul emotion and physical soul's emotion and feeling would have been matched exactly. So suffering is the man-made thing, because no matter what the situation is, how you define suffering. Somebody can be sitting in a jungle with nothing, no home. They live under a couple of bushes. They eat the fruit from the trees, and we look at them on TV. We say, "Oh my God, these people are suffering." But when you go meet them, they're not suffering. They're very happy. But because with our standard, they think that's the suffering. That's how we define suffering. So there's no suffering really. Am I correct, Mr. Kesh?
I don't know. You define yourself.
That
You
was
concluded it.
Am I correct about the physicality's feeling is always the same no
You
matter
see,
what?
Rick, there was a question in it
I
somewhere.
knew a question was coming up.
The reality is, what is suffering to you? Is it suffering to me?
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay, if I'm a whipmaster and I whiplash, am I enjoying it while the other guy who received the whiplash suffering from it? Is my energy transferred into the body of another person? To me, gives the essence of power. To the other one, gives us a pain and diminishing life. Connected in the line of the rope. You don't need to ask that question. Why do you go and find somebody, your parents never been to Amazon? Ask twins who are brought up in the same house. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Kesh.
You're welcome. There is something I have to tell a lot of people around the Keshe Foundation who we see in public a lot. Please watch. There are a lot of people who are making funny excuses to reach you because they think you reach the what do you call it, the Keshe Foundation layers. They make all sorts of excuses to meet you, to be with you, or write to you. They're coming to check your system. Please be wise. These are a lot of traps set by that still are active in the background. Those of you who get emails from somebody or something, you know, I've sent this, can I come and see you, and others, be aware of there's still devil in work, as I call it. There are those who are out there to damage, but pray for their souls and give them, says, you have my blessing, but I prefer not to meet. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Any other question? If you run out of question after 3 hours, it means next week we don't need to teach anymore, even though we taught a little bit today.
There was one question from Nicholas in the Q&A. Maybe we can address that before we wrap up here. He says, how does our life experience, skills, abilities, inspirations, intuitions, gained and expressed, realizing that they do not belong to us as a person, but are a part of the soup of the soul of the man, be shared? I don't know if you got that whole question. It's
Not really.
maybe I'll try it again. I'll do it without the part that's in parentheses here because it gets too hard to say. How's our life experience, skills, abilities, inspirations, intuitions gained and expressed? How are they shared? How are they to be shared? He says, realizing that they do not belong to us as a person, but are a part of the soup of the soul of the man. He should ask the question himself because I'm not understanding it, so I can't deliver it.
Is he there to ask the question?
Let's see, he should be here. Nicholas, are you here? Let's see.
Yeah, he's there.
Yes, Nicholas, can you ask your question correctly?
I didn't realize I was connected. Yes, this is Nicholas, New Mexico, USA, and been involved for about 2 years now with this work. And, you know, it has fully engaged me in my life. And we live in a remote place in the mountains of New Mexico, not too many people around. And I feel like that in one's life, certain experiences come forth, certain abilities in working with things like geometry and architecture and agriculture in all parts of life. And one realizes that, you know, these are a part of our physical expression, yet these skills and things that have gained are also a part of our soul. So my question is, how does one share this? How does one share this as a, you know, a participant, other than living it? How does one share it with others? And I've been looking at that. And so my question was whether you could answer it here or not, Mr. Keshe, or, you know, whether I can speak with somebody like Klaus or Mark of what it is that I have to share. We live in a farm, a small farm in a remote community. How can the farm share in this work and participate in this work? And so I'm just looking for an avenue of conversation with someone.
Yeah, the thing is, if I can answer it, and it's a beautiful question what you put, and it comes from wisdom of what I call loneliness. You become more spiritual, more in a way of trying to find a solution. What am I here for? What am I doing here? I feel like there's a lot of time sitting amongst people who speak different language, and I'm the only one, and somebody has to translate. So they're laughing and joking, and I just sit there and I think, what am I doing here? What am I adding to this table except being invited to consume some food? And then I start elevating their souls one by one, and it's amazing how they change. It's amazing how they when you see them the next time and the time after, the behavior changes. And say, oh, it worked. I wasn't here to take food. I'm here to elevate the souls. I don't need to be speaking the language and be there, but being an outsider, I see a lot. It's part of our growth to understand we are part of a totality and we don't have to see to know. If it's our wish and we are there to plant, to elevate whatever, the soul of the bird which uses the plant, or the animal, the rabbit which comes and steals the carrots or whatever, it's all part of it. But when we wish it to elevate, it reaches where it's got to go. We had one of us last week says, I want to give, I want to, my soul is there for this. Is the openness is there to come and take if it's need be, because some of the energy which you absorb in that desert or in remote place is what I need, but you don't see me. I'm sitting in the middle of south of Italy, warm, maybe cold in the winter time, and you give me the warmth which I need to feel internally with my soul. When we look and expect to see, that's the time we block the giving. It's not sitting here, I'm here, take from me. Is when I stay open, they take from me as they need. Is not for me to throw everything out of the window and hopefully somebody lands on somebody's head who needs the socks and lands on the head of other who needs the trousers. Because we have to understand, as we say, a twin star, the flow balance finds and it just transfers. It's the same. We don't need to see manifestation of going. If you open yourself to be a giver, if somebody needs some energy and you have that in from middle of Amazon or could be in the deeper space somewhere, they reach it, they receive it. In being open to give is the point, in not where what can I do and how I can give. It's a beautiful question, because if you go to Dr. Quata, he is serving day and night in Kenya. He sent me some pictures every week. I receive something from him. That how he is just teaching unconditionally in Africa, and gradually the position in Kenya changes. And some of the pictures he sent me this week was so nice. I said to Rick, can you put these up?
Can I show that now, Mr. Keshe?
Yeah,
Is that okay?
please share.
Okay.
And the beauty of it, he doesn't watch who comes, can I teach what, he just teaches, and if the farmer learns it and somebody helps their children, it's, we see different people, different, it goes to farming communities, it goes to university teaching, and you see these youngsters are there for decades. They change the condition of their nation gradually and they see it. It's the same. You see faces, but I see souls, and they in time they change. And they're happy to be there. Africa is very rich in the elevation of the soul of the man. And so much we have taken from their physical condition that the soul still has the same shine. To me, there is no black skin, it's a beautiful soul, they shine. And this is one teaching. They learn, they heard, they're there to learn how they can increase their farm production, how they can save their lives, how they can handle malaria, which is the biggest killer machine there. And the solution for Africa will come out of these souls. The white man had a chance for centuries, did nothing but to rob from their soul and their physicality. If you worked and lived in Africa the way I do, you see nothing but beauty. The same I see, the same in China, the same I see. The harshest thing we see is in Europe and America. And one day it will change. I said many times, many times, that the heart of the black is so white, same as their soul. It's just the skin which is nano-coated and it absorbs all the beauty of the creation. Thank you very much for your work. It's the same with many people.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It really is working towards some clarity here, even though it's very personal. You know, it's very connected to, you know, the greater totality. I know that. Thank you.
You're welcome. We have the same kind of work day and night by many people across Africa. You have Paul, you have Benjamin, you have Alex, you have the team in Nigeria are extensively working in the background. The same in other parts, Angola, in what you call Central Africa, in Uganda, Keshe Foundation people who start very little and they start, and they see the change, they bring the change.
I was wondering if Gatua might like to say something about these pictures, just to give a bit of framing about it. Gatua, can you say something?
Yes, thank you very much for showing my work here. In fact, this weekend I will have about 100 of them. I have invited all the groups that support Keshe Foundation. The school, this school, the picture that is shown here is from a school. And then I have the farmers in the other one, the one that they are seated. Last week, 69 of them came. This weekend, Saturday, there will be even more. And all of them will be in one place. So we'll have more pictures with about 100 of them.
What do you teach them, and what do they take from these teachings?
Oh, I teach them everything from the beginning, how to nanocoat, how to make CO2. A lot of these ones that are sitting here have used CO2 for a long time. And in fact, I would say that it's the CO2 that has brought them together because they
What
have
does it
seen.
do? What does it do for them?
For example, if I started with woods, just common woods, people with injuries, swellings, feet swellings, uh, high blood pressure that has reduced, and such ailments, skin conditions. And now that they know that it works, they just come. And I started with a few of them. This group, 14 came the first time, the second time, 45, the third time, 48. Last time was 69. I expect 100 this time.
You are repeating the story of our lives. It happened the same.
Yeah,
Many
so
times.
it's
It just
amazing.
increases. You can't stop it. More and more people come.
Yeah, I have to think of building a hall or something because
Well, let me, Dr. Gatwa, let me explain to you something. Find a land and can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Am I clear to you?
My connection is very low.
Hello.
Yes, you're coming in clear. But I
Yes.
think Gatwa's internet is slow.
Are you there, Dr. Gatwa?
My connection is not so good today, but I hope to show next week. Thank you very much.
No problem. Dr. Gatwa, you hear it or you can listen to the recording, it's all the same. Find a land or find the premises like this, bigger than this, as a teaching center, and the foundation will pay for it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
We cover you up to $100,000. Build a proper center, and every time we give a commitment we met, we'll cover it for it. If you have such a increase, and you can just teach the basis, it means the nation needs it, and we are there to serve the nation. I cover on the behalf of the Keshe Foundation Management.
Thank you very much.
Development for the Kenya. You don't need a factory, you need to teach.
Now I can hear Mr. Keshe. I didn't hear.
You're quite welcome. You have served Kenya well since you left the United States. I think what I see here brings back a lot of things. It's just different faces, but the story is the same. Very first teachings we start doing in Belgium, I met a sick man who said to me, can you help me if you come to my house because I'm sick to come out? I went to see him. He was in the house for years, sick. And then a few days later, he could start living. And he said, I know other people sick like me, can you come the next day? And then gradually, one man, the next time was 3 or 4, the week after was 8 to 10, and the week after became 25. And the week after thereon, we didn't have enough room, but we still kept the meetings in his house. And strange enough, the same people as harassing us, harassing him, for collaborating. And the same. If knowledge collaboration, share of knowledge collaboration is a criminal offense, I would like to be the biggest criminal because I shared my technology and my patents with all of you. And if you have reached this level, it means the nation needs it. And that's the job of the Keshe Foundation, to support the nation. That's why we are there. And to build something proper, you need that kind of financing. Build it or find it that it can do, and the foundation will support it. We supported Nigeria with when they requested for 20,000 building the swimming pool, and now it's there as a research center. Kenya needs a teaching center, and just teach. Don't open laboratories or factories. Teach that you have enough. Then when we come to open the factories, we have knowledge seekers who can benefit both from technology and we can support the nation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. I did not hear everything, but I will listen later.
You're quite welcome. Your soul has heard and already done the job. Any other question?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your hard work. And it's a big change coming from Yale University to be there and to become part of development in Kenya. There is a request, Dr. Kwat, that you will soon hear from the director of the Keshe Foundation. We need you for something else with your expertise in university. Please speak to the management team and they tell you what we need to be done urgently. And maybe you can help the foundation in that way again, in part of the development in Africa.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. I'm ready to start.
Thank you indeed. Any other news? Anything else?
There's one last question, perhaps, and also I put up this this little logo thing here with showing the Polish, French, and English teaching on Sunday, the 11th of February, 2100 hours Central European Time. And I think maybe Pete, can you say something about that? You wanted me to show that, and maybe you can say something.
Yes, thank you, Rick. And apologies for the low resolution of the picture. I hope you can see it clearly. So this is, I want to thank Jim, Pavel, and Frederic from the French team for organizing this. And this is the first global teaching where knowledge seekers from different language groups come together to exchange their experiences and share the knowledge beyond the boundaries of their own language. So the middle language to which we translate is English, and the French team will present, will start off by presenting a little presentation, the topic of which is glands, and then we're going to have a more of a discussion to follow this. So I really want to thank everybody for making this happen. We are all really excited and looking forward to this Sunday teaching. I think this is what it's all about, to interact between different languages, to exchange our experiences and our knowledge, and the developments that are happening in different language groups. And I think this is a beginning of a series of global teachings where different languages, every week different languages will be able to do the same. And I don't want to say too much about this because this idea came up from Jim and Pavel. So if they are present, they can add a bit more. But for now, I think this information is sufficient. So please join, whether you speak Polish, French, or English. Please join us on Sunday, 11th of February, 9 p.m. CET on this Zoom channel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pete. And maybe, Mr. Keshe, you could give one last answer or address one last question.
Can I address one question before you ask the question? There is a question raised that why do we need 1,000 shares in the operation of the company which we set up? I deliberately chose that number because Some of us might need part of that support to reach a level. Some of us might not need none of it. Some of us might need the benefit of 3/4 of the 1000, that we reach a level of satisfaction that the others can use. This is the reason we chose such a figure. If with 50% of the shares I hold and the profit in it is enough for me to have the level of satisfaction, the other 500 I make it available to others. I subject for them to, or them to be there to receive it. That we don't condition, we leave it to the freedom of the soul. This will serve a lot of people when the one nation comes, and a lot of things will change. A lot of us move from one part of the world to another. We all become equal, does not matter where. In the long run, what we see, the national inflation, you call it, become international level. That a kilo of tomato will worth the same in China as in Africa and than in America. There is a lot of logic behind it, there is a lot of sense behind it, why I said this way. And we'll understand more and more of it. There is an English say, fair coats and no knickers. Just because somebody wears a fair coat doesn't mean they have there's a beautiful clothing underneath of it. They don't even have the money to buy underwear. But at least the fur coat, which one day was there as a wealth, now protects the body of the man. So each one of us has it becomes a consciousness of the soul of the man. And then this brings peace. And then allows us to move freely across the planet. We don't get conditioned. And it gives us a lot of freedom, pleasures of existence. We don't need to worry if I leave, let's say, United Kingdom, what happens to my living in Africa if I'm going to teach, would they support me? You already carry your wealth through the Keshe Foundation to live, but it'll be the same. You don't move from wealth into poverty, and you don't move from poverty into the wealth that you feel you're supporting into another. It's coming up beautifully what we planned and what we are executing, and we have some of the most powerful nations behind us in this journey. And I thank the leaders of these nations. We bless your souls and your leaderships, and across the levels of the leadership who work with us in that direction, because we all have the same ethos. Ask your questions and we say goodbye.
Okay, this is from someone new, Franklin Mendez, who asks, Mr. Keshe, how do you feel about solar panels? Is this the type of free energy we use for our spaceship?
I don't know. I never seen one in the space. It's a man-made thing. Your soul should receive the sun, not the panel. It totally depends on understanding of the operation of your physicality.
So you are the solar panel, you could say.
In a way, yes, we are. It starts with the same thing, soul, but we put something else under of it.
Maybe we call it a soul panel.
Soul panel, why not? It's the body of the man is that panel. We just got to understand it.
And soul and solar center. Sorry, go ahead.
The solar panels and that work on more in the realm of physicality, where we're learning with this work to work with the fields of the sun.
How many of you have actually sat somewhere and you decided, I want to cool down and I want to shiver? And how many of you sat somewhere and says, I'm cold, I want to warm myself with my soul, and see you can do it? I think it's time to start the way you made the cores and you made the ganses. Now it's time to start practicing the use of all limitations, or educating the trust between the soul and physicality. That then you'll see, I'm hungry, but I need just enough to not feel, but enough energy to repair whatever it is needed to be able to exist. And you can get out and do it. It's time
I,
to start getting the soul to move.
I did similar things when I was 12 years old. I enjoyed sitting.
We don't know this gentleman. You would like to introduce yourself?
It's Shandor from Hungary, Budapest.
I hope you're not hungry.
No, not at
So
all.
you're going to teach us about hunger.
No problem. When I was around 12, I had the pleasure to learn about how to heat and how to cool my body. It was a time when I put my hands on Hatha Yoga manual, a small booklet which appeared in Romania in the early 70s. And it was such amazing to take hot shower, maybe 45, 48 degrees, and to create a sensation that it's so hot that it is actually cold and chilling and had chilling sensation. Or when in May we were with the class in an excursion in the mountains, others were freezing because it was 5 centigrades only, they're up, and I was sitting out naked, just with underwear and enjoying staying outside in 5 centigrades.
What did they call you?
Crazy man. So nobody ever insulted me to tell that I would be normal.
Well,
I tell you, it brings a very beautiful experience, because I know exactly what you talk about. I used to travel to Kinshasa quite a lot, to Africa, and most of the time the maids would never put the water on that you can have a warm shower in the morning. So you had to call the maid in the house to bring a boiling water for you that you could wash. And it got to the point that one day I thought, I take the pleasure of the cold to be warm, that I enjoy warm water, and it works.
It really does. So later when, when I was in the army service, we had a pretty harsh climate in that place. Sometimes it was minus 20, minus 25 centigrades, but usually it was around minus 15 in the winters. And we had instruction outside for physical exercises, gymnastics, using the ski. And it was a day when it was not windy at all. So I had the idea to get naked on the upper body only, just in trousers and boots. And everybody told, "Are you crazy?" I said, "No, it's a pleasure, try it." And they tried it and they enjoyed it. So it's easy to try.
I told you about our friend who came to us in cold armor. He's gonna laugh his head off. I was telling Armand about it yesterday. He was caught in the rain and cold where he was, in the country where he was, and he said, "Do you know what I did? I took out of my pocket $100. People, I said, I gave anybody who gave me a hug, I gave them $100." And he said, "This woman helped me, and she became like me, cold after an hour and a half." And it's amazing what people were prepared to do with him, to give him a hug for $100, that he could warm himself up, because there was no other heating. He was on the street. He said, "I took my money out and I gave 100 people just to hug me, just to transfer heat." And I thought, I wish this guy knew more about the Keshe Foundation job.
He could almost burn his money to get heat as well.
Yeah.
He should change it into $5 euros first, probably.
Do you want to stop people smoking? And it's very effective. I've done it with a couple of people. You know, like a pack of cigarettes costs, let's say, $5, and you smoke 10 packs a week, that's $50. Just roll a $50 note and tell them, burn it, smoke it. They refuse. It's money. I said, but you do it over a week? Why don't you do it in one go? Yeah, it's just understanding what we do with ourselves. Shall we call it a day? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for everything, Rick, and the whole Keshe Foundation management team, and the backup team, and people who make sure every week we are here to run. I thank the people who become part of the Keshe Foundation. And in so many ways, Keshe Foundation has grown into a level, and it will grow further in the coming time, because we serve the soul of the man, and the soul of the man brings the physicality into order. I thank especially Armin. And
No, I think his microphone is open at this moment, so perhaps he wanted to speak. Oh, as he's muted again. But Armin had his microphone open, so I thought he wanted to speak here. Armin, did you want to say something, or was it accidental at that moment when Mr. Keshe talked about you?
No, it is accidental.
Oh, now you're here, you have to speak.
Nothing is accidental. You were supposed to say something, I think.
You see, he lives in the pleasure of the Los Angeles, in the warmth of the weather. I bet he's wearing a black suit with a cigar.
No. I am half in my bed. So.
Thank you very much for being there, Armin. The running of the foundation has become global operation, and every one of us tries to change and bring what we can. And from Italy, from Giovanni to Giuseppe to Klaus in Austria, to people in South America who are trying to set up the factories, our team in Mexico, the team especially in Arizona, the burden and the pleasure they take on their shoulders from now on with the expansion of the Keshe Foundation. And the team in Canada was been with us solidly for years, Vince, Rick. And the same goes to our Chinese team, all the translators in Chinese, the Chinese support team. Mr. Hugh goes back into the beautiful place of Taiwan, which we have with the SNAP and the rest of the team there. The Philippine team, who are the backbone of the designs and computer programming with us at this moment of time. The same goes to all the support in Australia, Australian team, and what do you call it, Jim and his team, and the factories which are there to be set up, going to South Africa, going into the France, especially the British team, who have become the backbone of the structure of the Keshe Foundation. I thank you, all of you. John, and they know who they are, and Oliver, and many people across this work in Holland, in Spain, in Portugal, in Accra, in everywhere else. Keshe Foundation has become a very big family, and it's the family which is just considers how to give, find a way to give, and they call us a bunch of crazy people. If bringing peace is by giving, let us all be crazy with it. Thank you very much for all the support, and as many of you know, without Caroline it becomes sometimes impossible, but with Caroline it makes it more difficult, but it gets doable. And it's the same. We even thank the soul of Mr. Toffoli, who brings us so much joy that it keeps the foundation in its track. Thank you indeed, and we'll see you hopefully next week with much more.
Mr. Keshe, this is Parviz from Dubai. I just wanted to thank you for everything, and we are praying for the moment that hopefully the Iranian project will get started as well. Everybody is eager to start. We are just waiting for the moment to come.
My wish is your wish, and we have to be very prudent, especially at this moment of time, in how we handle Middle East. We are hoping the collaboration between the Iranian scientists from the Plasma Center in Arizona with the Jewish scientists will become the iceberg, which will melt the rest of it by itself. It will be nice to see our invitation to go to the, especially Sharif Tehran University plasma team, the plasma team which works in Europe, the Iranian scientists, to join us. And we make our hand of invitation and greeting to the scientists from Tel Aviv and the State of Israel, and that we become without a religion, but we come believe in the faith of the man. And we all meet in Arizona. We invite the same American scientists as the Russians and the British, as everybody else.
Mr. Keshe, the Arab nation is outside the equation?
Nobody's outside the question, not even the Iranians. But I don't know many Arab plasma physicists. You're quite welcome to invite them.
Okay, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. I have many good friends in Arab world. We have one of the heads of the Keshe Foundation, Jamila, from Arab nation. We are blind to where we come, and it's the way we work. As the head of one of the most powerful parts of the Keshe Foundation, a lady from Arab world is a huge honor for us to have her on board with us. We have become kind of blind. You should see the way the people around the Keshe Foundation move from one group to another, and it's no limitation. The way we work with the Chinese, the way we work with Africa, how the African, the British, and the Chinese, and the American Keshe Foundation, the Canadian team fly back, forth, and everywhere. As it's their home, they are not worried anymore where they are. The whole thing is to bring to the point of the tipping over, and we have tipped over. The tip over for the expansion of the Keshe Foundation was signed into this morning, and I thank Armin, the whole of the Keshe Foundation management team, the manufacturing team. We achieved a huge milestone today. We'll announce it. We do not announce it. We wait for the government to announce it. Then you understand. It's a huge gain for humanity. An amazing gain for humanity, and it had to come the right time when we were ready. We were not ready for it, not even 2 weeks ago. We are ready for it now. And it's been done, it's been achieved, and many nightmares between me and Armin and the others was there, how and when and would it, and the way, and now we have achieved it. I thank Armin for being there, all the pains he took with it, but it's worth it. We will see the change. And I thank the whole management team and the teams who are working in the background to make it happen.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. But before I go to sleep, may I talk to you, please?
Why, yes. Do you want me to sing a lullaby to put you to sleep? I thought you have Sarah. You don't need me. I'll talk. No problem. Talk shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Keshe, once again, and of course Caroline Keshe as well, because we know she's in the background and is always there to keep your back as well, in a way. Okay.
See you next week.
Yes, indeed. So that wraps things up for the 210th Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, February 8th, 2018. As always, thank you everybody for attending. And thanks people, especially on live stream and the other YouTube and Facebook and so on, all of our media. And we'll end our meeting for today. And I think Flint has a video to play with some music. Thank you, Flint.
Yes.
Bye, everybody.